What's up, everyone? Welcome into the show. We're here. Week 1 has occurred, and it was a week. I don't know if I've ever seen such a crazy opening to the NFL season. What did you guys think? How did your fantasy weeks go?
Fantasy weeks was fine. I mean, you say crazy opening. I think the better word might be sloppy. It was kind of sloppy all around. It seemed like to me. Not a lot of scoring. Even the game we watched last night. Never mind. I don't want to get into that yet. But sloppy on both ends. Maybe it wasn't really the Jets' fault, but yeah, sucks to see that happen to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, brutal to go the whole offseason thinking that you have Aaron Rodgers and then you have Zach freaking Wilson again. But the whole weekend was just a mess. So outside of the LA-Miami game, like offenses didn't know what they were doing. I think Kirk Cousins fumbled the snap twice. Like it was just sloppy football and kind of tough for fantasy teams too. I saw some that were scoring 50 points. I saw some that had Tyreek Hill and Tua. So could be worse, could be better.
I think there was lots of guys that just forgot that week 1 existed. T. Higgins didn't show up. Drake London didn't show up. Like, apparently they ran routes and played the game, but on the stat sheet they didn't do anything.
It's fake news. The the media says these things, but we know that it's not really true. I noticed that there are no questions in the live chat. I mean, I could just cancel the show. I could just cancel it. That's something I could do. I always threaten to do this every week. I threaten to cancel the show.
Still hasn't been canceled yet. So
it hasn't been canceled. It's not going to be canceled because person X, and there might be person Y. We'll see about person Y. Person X and potentially person Y and maybe person Z have donated a lot of money to keep the show going, to keep the show in my good graces. So we'll see.
They have some crazy names.
They do. Person X, person Y, and person Z. So I appreciate all of those people. Toronto Dave says, hashtag don't cancel.
Toronto Dave's the man.
Toronto Dave is the best. I'm not actually going to cancel the show. I love doing Tyler. I just like to complain.
Of course.
Squeaky wheel.
I mean, this is my 2 hours. I just get to sit here and listen to Tyler complain, and this is my life now. Every Tuesday night from 7:30 to 9:30, I get to listen to Tyler talk fantasy football, and I get to feed him questions.
Some people would pay good money for that.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Some people would hope to get paid money for it, but alas, I'm here doing it for free. But that's the point that we're at.
You know what? I'll give you your share of what the YouTube profits are.
Can I push YouTube tips and super chats instead of the Patreon? The sure. Patreon where you can get the spreadsheet.
I'll give you your share. By the way, the YouTube actually loses money.
Okay.
A lot of money.
You know what? You can keep my share, Tyler. You can have my share too. You guys split it.
No, the YouTube loses a significant amount of money.
As long as I keep access to the spreadsheet, which helps me win my leagues, that's all I care about.
Yeah,
you can get all of the spreadsheet, the start, sit, the dynasty rankings, the redraft weekly rankings, just by subscribing to the Patreon.
Yeah.
If you want specific help with a team, sign up for the higher tiers of the Patreon. Tyler's your man. He'll get you taken care of.
Thank you for reading my ad read.
That's just off the top of my head. There's no ad read.
No,
money, please.
Yeah, I promise there are no feet pics for sale. That you have to go to @JoshFuster. I heard that there are feet pics available there.
It's few inch Fuster, actually, if you want to find the feet pics. But if you want fantasy information,
don't search that on the internet.
Yeah. Just how much are you charging for those? Just curious.
There's different plans, different levels of plans, but
you have many different plans.
$5.99 per month.
Okay,
so pretty good deal.
That's reasonable.
So speaking of things you don't search, did I ever tell you guys the story of my first live type show where we were talking? A play happened on Red Zone, and we were watching Red Zone, and we were like, that play was kinky AF, and we were like, yeah, #kinky AF. and our viewers all went and looked up hashtag KinkyAF on Twitter at the time, and they came back saying, "Stop saying that. Stop saying that. This is really bad. I saw things I didn't ever want to see." So don't search that.
You can't tell me not to search something and tell a story like that, and then like I'm gonna look it up now.
You're going.
Maybe I shouldn't do it live on the show, but
no, you shouldn't.
Maybe I should.
But on a more serious note, let's get into some of our chat questions.
All right, I promise I'm going to talk about fantasy football. I promise.
Yes. We got some concerns with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm panicking in my 2 leagues that I have Pitts, London, and Bijan. Would you move one of them?
What is there to panic about with Bijan? Let's start with that. Why are we panicking? I don't see any.
Let's be honest, Tyler. There's speculation about Tyler Allgeier, just being the 1B to Bijan throughout the entire season, and that's why I think people might be panicking. I'm not saying I'm doing that. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
But what was Bijan Robinson supposed to do? Get 30-something carries? I mean, that's not going to happen. Like when you run that much, you're going to use 2 running backs. If they ran less, they'd use Bijan more. When the game was competitive, Bijan Robinson had a massive touch advantage, and then Tyler Allgeier closed the gap when the game was, at the end. The extra touches came at the end because there was all this extra running. Bijan Robinson was out there for more snaps. He was used in the receiving game. I mean, yeah, would I have liked more than 16 touches? Sure, but also it's a lot. How many running backs really got more? There aren't that many. So, and that was week 1. I only think Bijan Robinson is going to get used more as time passes. So Bijan Robinson, 0 panic. Now, the other two. There's a little problem. A problem there. Drake London just disappeared. Not present. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. But I don't think that Matt Collins is going to get 4 targets to Drake London's 1 every week. But there weren't that many targets to go around, so it's scary. Yeah. But Arthur Smith did use Drake London last year. Arthur Smith doesn't like Kyle Pitts at all. Kyle Pitts' snap share was not what we wanted in this game. He was taken off the field in situations. So I would say when it comes to these 3, I'm most panicked about Pitts, then London, and obviously I'm not really panicked about Bijan at all.
Unlisted wants us to know that he's here, even though there weren't questions in the chat yet at that point.
No. Let's talk about this. Let's start with this. We're talking about Zach Wilson for 5 primetime games. So I promised the people an intro segment about Aaron Rodgers. And we are going to talk about that. So we're going to have Zach Wilson for 5 more primetime games because in case anyone was living under a rock, Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles yesterday, which sucks. It sucks. I mean, that feels like it's unfair almost. I mean, we talked about it's something I talk about this every year. And every year it kind of is the same thing. We talk about everything throughout the offseason. We waste so much time talking about stuff. And then week 1, I mean, everything we talked about at the Jets, it can go in the garbage. I mean, it's all irrelevant. Nothing we talked about with the Jets is relevant now. Nothing. None of our projections, nothing. It's all in the trash can. So now we have to start over. And that's a big thing to do. I did a poll on X. And I asked what Garrett Wilson's rank the rest of the season will be. I'll put a link to the poll. But, the choices were wide receiver 5 or better, wide receiver 6 to 12, wide receiver 13 to 19, and wide receiver 20 or worse. And here's the link. I'll put that down there. And the majority, 50% of people who voted between those 3 options, voted for 13 to 19. But that's the majority. That's what people are saying. I think that's the most interesting thing to talk about with the Aaron Rodgers situation. So let's start with that. Assuming it is Zach Wilson the rest of the way, which I'm going to assume as of now. Do you think that rank is fair?
I'm going to say yes. I mean, what was he last year? Just the wide receiver 20-something. If he takes a little bit of a step forward, if Zach Wilson is even – I know that a lot of those points came when Zach Wilson was out, but if let's pretend Zach Wilson had a full offseason and got a tiny bit better, maybe Garrett Wilson slides into wide receiver 18, 19. He's no longer going to pay off at the ADP you drafted him at, which is a huge bummer, but he's still, especially in Dynasty, not somebody you should be throwing away or taking those low ball offers that everybody got this morning.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Mike. Last year he finished, it looks like in PPR leagues to 21. So I do expect that Zach Wilson is at least a little bit better than he was last year. I know there's this whole narrative where Garrett Wilson was complete crap when he played with Zach Wilson last year. But I think Garrett Wilson's the real deal. He's extremely talented. I don't know if everyone saw it, but that touchdown last night was amazing. Hopefully he doesn't have to rely on crazy touchdowns like that. But
Catch of the year candidate, right there.
Yeah, seriously, it was awesome. I was like yelling in my basement when it happened. But 5 targets isn't great. But
no, it's not.
You got to think that, like you were kind of saying, Tyler, just like us as fantasy managers, we got to kind of rethink this whole thing. I think the Jets kind of have to rethink this whole thing, and they got to find creative ways to get the ball in Garrett Wilson's hands, knowing that Zach Wilson is a little bit limited. So I do think he finishes as a top 20 wide receiver still.
Yeah, I have him this week. I have him against Dallas at 17. Feels kind of gross. Maybe it's a little high, but I have him at 17. So, I mean, Dallas is a really good defense, but it's also not the most positive game script in the world. The Jets will probably be playing from behind. So,
which maybe in a way is kind of good for Garrett Wilson, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think running all day is not going to be an option.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Breece Hall looked pretty good. I will say that was a bright side for the Jets. Breece Hall
looked awesome. Yeah.
I mean, he looked for his first game back. I think he vastly exceeded my expectations. I'm comfortable saying he'll be an RB1 the rest of the way. I don't think I have him ranked as an RB1 this week. Dallas's rush defense is really, really strong, but I'm RB 15 this week. So if it's 15 in one of the worst matchups possible, he's an RB1 the rest of the way.
And Dalvin Cook's still going to be involved.
Is he?
I know he didn't have a good game. I know he didn't have a good game, but he's going to be involved.
I doubt that. I doubt that actually.
That he'll be involved.
Not much, no. I dropped Dalvin Cook significantly in my rankings. I think Dalvin Cook was an Aaron Rodgers thing. And now that Aaron Rodgers is gone,
not going to be involved.
He looked like shit. I mean, he looked like shit. He looked like he's old, washed up, and and the fact that Michael Carter played at all is terrifying. Terrifying. Breece Hall is going to be the only running. This is not going to be a split. Breece Hall, as of very soon, is going to be taking the majority. And if Dalvin Cook and Michael Carter are sharing the other 30%, you're not gonna. That's in a bad offense. Dalvin Cook is, to me, in redraft, I'm fine cutting Dalvin Cook. I'm fine cutting him. I'm fine with that. Because the upside is gone. We know now. We are getting 0 weeks of Dalvin Cook being the guy. That 0 weeks. We didn't get it week 1. So if it didn't, and that was the most likely week. I thought Breece Hall got far more work than I thought he would. Far more. And I did not expect to see Michael Carter get involved at all. So if this is what we got from Dalvin Cook week 1, the problem is the upside now is if Breece Hall were to go down, we don't want to wish that. It's not going to be a workhorse role. He's still going to share in what is now a bad offense instead of a good one. So the upside with Dalvin Cook is if Breece Hall gets hurt, then he'll be a low-end RB2. You can cut Dalvin Cook. If you need to pick up Kyren Williams or Puka Nacua, if you need the spot, you're getting crunched. You get crunched. I mean, in Scott Fishbowl, I'm under this problem now. I'm getting crunched. You're not going to drop Dalvin Cook in Scott Fishbowl because it's 22 roster spots, but I'm getting crunched in that I feel crunched with 22 roster spots. In a league where you only have 15, you probably can't hang on to Dalvin Cook. So he might need to go if you need the spot for especially Puka Nacua, Kenneth Gainwell, Kyren Williams, or maybe even Joshua Kelly. Because you're not going to know before waivers run if Austin Eckler is healthy or not. And if Austin Eckler's out, Joshua Kelly is an RB1 this week. And you got to play to win 1 week at a time. And Dalvin Cook is injury away from not being all that great. So, yeah, he's a drop for me in redraft. And I'm done with Dalvin Cook.
I'd suggest if you can get a 2-for-1 on using Dalvin Cook's name value, a slight
redraft,
tier up.
That doesn't work. Because in redraft, you have to get that done in the next. You don't have time. In Dynasty, I love that idea. But this is why in redraft, you got to get that done in the next 4.5 hours.
Ideally, you should have been working on that earlier today.
But even so, that's such a tight window of time.
Yes.
That's what I always say about redraft. Is in redraft, you cannot rely on making trades. You can't. It's not like Dynasty. The roster is small. You have to worry about your own team. You can't rely that a trade is going to happen. It doesn't always happen because the window is so small. In Dynasty, I can take however long I want. I have so many roster spots. I'm deciding, do I want Dontavian Wicks or, Parker Washington? Who cares? It's not going to matter. I have time to make my moves. But in redraft, you don't get that luxury to make these 2-for-1 trades. I love the idea. But by the time people are listening to this show, it's probably too late to do that. So you have to make your moves. You have to make tough choices. What I like about redraft is you have to, decide on things. Can't just makes it harder for me. In Dynasty, I have a bigger advantage. I've worked so hard over the last 9 months to set myself up for the most success possible. But in redraft, you can't do that. So it's kind of nice. It's refreshing, I'll say. But, other than that, you can cut Alan Lazard if he was on your roster. He shouldn't have been anyway, but you can certainly cut him in redraft. He's not a top 60 wide receiver, I don't think, going forward. With Zach Wilson, he's useless. So he can go. And yeah, it sucks. What else is there?
We want to keep going through the chat a little bit?
I want to talk about. So I think we talked about Garrett Wilson enough. I think we talked about the backfield. Is there any chance that the Jets acquire another quarterback as more than a backup? Yeah, probably. They're going to sign another quarterback, right? I mean, they don't have any other quarterbacks. But
you mean going out and trading for someone's current?
Yes. Something more than, signing someone to just be a backup. I don't think there are any free agents available who would be a starter.
There's Carson Wentz is still floating around. He's not good, but he's better than Zach Wilson.
He's not better than Zach Wilson.
That's a very low bar. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not better than Zach
Maybe
Wilson.
we could say they're on the same playing field.
Maybe in a vacuum, but the fact that Zach Wilson has been here the whole time with the same coaching staff means that Carson Wentz is not an upgrade.
Same tier.
Tim Boyle is still on the
Carson
practice
Wentz
squad
to sit on the bench and be the new backup. I could see that being a possibility, but I don't know if Carson Wentz I think Carson Wentz is fine with just sitting there and not playing. I think if they just sign someone to be the backup, Joe Flacco would be their first call.
Ugh.
That's not signing someone to start. That's just signing someone. You need another
That'd be better for Garrett Wilson, you need
another quarterback.
Got in there.
There really are no quarterbacks in the NFL quarterbacks that I put down on the list. Tom Brady. No. It would be nice, but no. Matt Ryan.
He's not officially retired.
Yeah.
But
Matt
he's
Ryan,
in the
I don't
booth.
think so.
And also, if Carson Wentz isn't better than Zach Wilson, is Matt Ryan better than Zach Wilson? He was terrible last year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I still think I'd rather have Matt Ryan than Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz is so bad. But the only quarterbacks that you could trade for that could possibly be let go of are Jameis Winston, which would be very interesting.
That's a good one.
That would be the best
one.
That would be the best. That would be the best case scenario because I do think Jameis Winston is better than Zach Wilson. And I think that Jameis Winston would save the fantasy value. But are the Saints really willing to let him go? What kind of offer would it take? I don't know. Maybe it would probably take at least a 3rd round pick.
That's what I was thinking. That was like the line I was thinking. I was like, 4th? Do they really want to give him up for just the 4th?
The Saints, I think they're contenders, and they're probably right, considering how weak that division is. They look good in week 1. I mean, the offense looked good. And that was
was impressive.
It was without any running game at all. No running game. And the offense still was good. So I don't know if they're really looking to trade Jameis Winston unless it's, like I said, probably for a 3rd. It would have to be a 3rd.
Also, real quick on Jameis Winston and his fit with the Jets. Like, Robert Saleh wants to win games like 10-6. He's not looking for Jameis risk it for the biscuit ball.
That's true.
Well,
he wants
Jameis was not that. Saints Jameis was not that. Saints Jameis was very well.
He cleaned it up a little. Yeah.
Very well behaved.
Yeah.
It was almost too boring.
Yeah.
It was almost too boring.
But there's a reason Andy Dalton still kept starting for them last year when Jameis Winston.
Yeah, that was not
just. Yeah.
Andy Dalton.
That's a bad
could be
sign.
Someone. Andy Dalton actually is on my list, potential list.
Okay.
To call. And then the last one, the only other one that I see making any sense is Ryan Tannehill. The money makes no sense, but he's on the last year of his contract. And if Tennessee is willing to just, after one disastrous week, and oh boy, was it a disaster, wave the white flag, I could see that happening. Maybe not immediately, but let Tennessee look horrible in week 1. Horrible. They almost won, but they look bad.
Their offensive line is bad.
Next one is the Chargers. That's coming up next. Then a road game against the Browns. That doesn't seem so good. And then the Bengals after that. If they're 0-4, they have not one, but 2 young quarterbacks that you want to see what you have here. Ryan Tannehill is on the last year of his contract. If you're 0-4, he's not coming back. So he's the one veteran who I think Ryan Tannehill, he struggled in this game, but I think Ryan Tannehill is better than Zach Wilson. I think we've seen him have success recently. The offense, the whole Tennessee team is in disarray. Oh, not the Ryan I expected.
Ryan!
It's the second week in a row this has happened.
I'm in the darkness again. I feel like I'm in a Batman movie.
Yeah. We were just talking about the Jets trading for Ryan Tannehill. Save those Will Levis shares.
I didn't hear any of that.
That's okay. It was fake news anyway. It was fake news.
Okay, I got you.
But I know. Well, we'll see. I don't know. Something to keep an eye on. All right. Is there anything else with this? I think I'm done with this one.
Yeah.
That's me telling.
I think we'll be surprised when the Jets make the move. It's gonna come out of seemingly nowhere, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday in the coming weeks.
No, I think Tannehill's the only one that would make any sense.
So Eagles are on a short week this week. Do you see a bounce back from DeAndre Swift with the Gainwell ribs issue?
No, I don't. I don't. I think that I always hesitate to say this because it's not based on anything. But there has to be, and there has to be, there's no other explanation. There has to be something personal about DeAndre Swift. There literally has to be. that makes him very unlikable because 3 coaching staffs have said, no, thank you. This guy's good on the field, but no, thank you. We don't want him. We don't want to play him. There has to be something about him because it's the only explanation. It's it's rare that I give that as the explanation, but there's no other explanation. There isn't. There's no other explanation. So that's that Occam's razor. That's now become the simplest and most likely explanation. Is there something about him that's personal that coaches just don't like? So I'm going to say no. I don't know what it is. I will say that I don't know if Kenneth Gainwell is going to play this week. I think it'll come down to the wire with it being a Thursday night game. But if Kenneth Gainwell doesn't play, Rashad Penny's going to come back in. And I think that, he'll split some work. Swift will be the lead, but I think starting Swift would be a huge trap.
I almost think Penny,
but
I almost think Penny would take the lead stuff and keep Swift at whatever leftover role he has.
I'm not sure about
Penny
that.
would get the most carries probably.
I think that DeAndre Swift was closer to himself being the healthy scratch than he was to overtaking Gainwell, if we believe what they're saying.
That's fair.
DeAndre Swift also had a bad drop one play there. I don't know if they trust him, and I don't know if they want him out there for a significant amount of snaps quite yet. So there's no way you can trust him at this point.
It was nasty weather out there, so like I can be forgiving on some of the nastiness, but you got to catch the ball. You got to hold on to it.
I have no sympathy.
Who do you think is a better pickup, Tutu Atwell or Puka Nacua?
Nacua. It's not even close. Tutu Atwell. I think Tutu Atwell is a mirage. Mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Puka Nacua, I think, is the real deal.
Scribbles adds, I saw London go for Tutu Atwell in a second.
Oh,
Should
no.
we call it Dynasty if people are so reactionary?
That's the beautiful thing about Dynasty. Take advantage of these situations and get Tutu Atwell in the second off your team for Drake London. Oh, man.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I just have no real interest in Tutu Atwell. I moved him up in my rankings, but, we're talking about someone who was outside the top 100 wide receivers in Dynasty. Now I have him at 80. Wow. He's not that high.
It's a big riser.
Yeah. But I think Tutu Atwell... I think we know what Tutu Atwell is. It's not good. And I just don't buy it.
He's just skinny Rondale Moore on a better offense. So
he's a little bit bigger than Rondale Moore. A little bit.
Is he?
He has plenty of opportunity.
Well, taller, right? Rondale Moore's like 5'6", right?
I think he's 5'7". I'm going to Google Tutu real quick.
He had plenty of opportunity to earn targets
he's
last year and didn't.
Nailed it.
All right.
But 20 pounds lighter.
Oh my!
He didn't really earn a lot of targets last year, even though he had the chance. So,
yeah.
How much is
I think it's possible.
160.
I wouldn't be surprised if, Van Jefferson and Atwell are more kind of rotating up and down, and Puka Nacua is the one you can trust. And I also think that only Puka Nacua could do anything when Cooper Kupp comes back. There's not going to be room in this offense for 3 receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Puka Nacua
Tutu Atwell could be decent while Cooper Kupp's out, but I completely agree. I think once Kupp is back, he kind of takes that role completely.
I don't trust Tutu Atwell.
Here's the other thing.
Him either.
Are you starting either of them against the San Francisco defense this week?
I'm going to start Puka Nacua anyway, because I feel like
over who?
I have him at wide receiver 32, which is high.
Yeah,
it's high because the volume was there. I mean, in order to have him lower, you have to start players who had almost no volume whatsoever, with no guarantee that it's going to return. So I'm good starting Puka Nacua this week.
He's not going to be
behind. They're going to be behind. They're not going to be ahead.
I mean, the Steelers were behind, and that didn't work out for Deontay or Pickens or Robinson.
Kenny Pickett.
Rough. Steelers fan here. Rough.
And you say it didn't work out, but that's actually not true. Deontay Johnson got hurt, and stunningly, despite not having great options, they were not bad. Like, you say it didn't work out, but the volume was there. I mean, Deontay Johnson took his 3 for 38 on 6 targets before going out, which, considering that he didn't even play
later
half
in the game.
How much of the game did he play?
I don't know.
He went down midway through the second half.
Midway through the second half. But their 4 receivers totaled 27 targets. 27 targets. But if you look at the Rams snaps, no other receivers played more than 3 snaps other than Atwell, Jefferson, and Puka played as a trio almost every snap. And it was almost all base 11.
So it's all consolidated.
They didn't play any.
Works out better.
So
Deontay only played 43% of snaps.
43. So you're splitting, and that's the Steelers who were putrid. They had 29 targets to wide receivers, and it was split evenly. And that was the Steelers who are awful. I'm not concerned about starting the one that I think is going to be good, not the other 2. I don't want to start Atwell, who I have at 59, or Jefferson, who I have outside the top 70. But Puka, I think you have to. I think most formats you have to. The volume's there. And it's going to be there again because it was there for the Steelers last week. The Rams cannot run the ball. They can't. Kyron Williams might have produced, but it wasn't going well. And we're not even going to talk about Cam Akers. 22 for 29. And how wonderful he looked. Begged people. Begged. Please. This is a bust, an obvious bust, who has done 0 in his career. Begged. Please don't draft him. I really hope you listen.
Where's Hutch?
Well, I mean, I begged when Hutch was talking about it. Absolutely. Because he looked like crap for most of his career, never was involved in the receiving game, and is randomly benched. It's already happened 3 times. Not even including this one. And now here we go again. Another time. And everyone acts like they're surprised.
Man, he was great for that consolation bracket last year.
Great.
You definitely secured 7th place.
It really worked out great. But the point of the story is the Rams ran their offense through Puka Nacua. And he's unlucky he didn't get a touchdown. I think that's part of the reason why he's not ranked as high. I think if he had scored, people wouldn't be able to deny it. But because the touchdown didn't go his way, he was tackled, I believe, very close. He needed
11 catches.
Yeah. Because it didn't actually happen, I think people are more skeptical than they would be otherwise. I think this is an opportunity. And he's my number 1 priority on waivers, even above these other running backs.
He's mine too, for sure.
My number 1 priority. He'd be the one I would target because there is no running back we know that this running back is going to be more than a low-end RB2 at best the rest of the year. That pickup doesn't exist. Maybe Joshua Kelly will be good this week if Austin Eckler is out. Kenneth Gainwell I like, but now he's hurt. You're going to pick him up, and you're not going to be able to play him.
He'd still be my number 2 pickup.
He would be my number 2 as well. But he's not number 1 because of the injury. If he were healthy, I would consider him at number 1 because he looks like he's going to be the starter on a high-powered offense for the whole year. But because he's hurt, you don't know if that's going to stick. And also, I have no idea how injured his ribs are. He could be out. I mean, the rib injuries it's 2 weeks. Then
seems like it's a bad injury for a running back to have. I don't know.
It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like he's going to play. And I'm worried that it could be bad. We don't know. We just don't have any information about it. So other than that, he's not practicing, which is not good. So Puka Nacua is my number 1 waiver wire claim. And in redraft, I mean, it depends on the depth of your league, what percentage. This is not a burn everything. If somehow he was on your Dynasty waiver wire, then it is burn everything. But he shouldn't have been. But if he was. In redraft, it's not everything, but depending on your league, depending on how deep it is, somewhere between 25 in a really shallow league with a lot of good players on waivers to like 50, 60% in a more deep league, somewhere in that range.
Tyler, what are you giving up in Dynasty to acquire Puka Nacua?
There's no way I'm going to do that because whatever I have to give up is going to be too much.
Would you sell for a second?
I probably would. Most of these players don't hit. And I said this on my Patreon earlier. The 75% outcome or so is that he ends up being Darnell Mooney. And Darnell Mooney was never really worth that much more than a second, even at his best. There's an Amon-Ra St. Brown every once in a while, but those are rare.
Yeah, I think Amon.
Most of the time, you get your Darnell Mooney, your Gabe Davis, players that are good in spurts, but the low draft capital players hitting are usually players who fell for off-field reasons. Or Amon-Ra is like the one.
Mm-hmm.
Amon-Ra, Stephon Diggs, and Antonio Brown are like the three who, obviously Antonio Brown had off-field issues later, but who really didn't have an off-field issue at the drafting time. Just the NFL just whiffed on those three. There aren't many others. Adam Thielen was undrafted as another one, but he took like 4 years to break out.
There was that one really fun Hunter Renfrow year, and that was the end of it.
Travis Fulgham. I mean, they have it, but they're rare, and they usually aren't sustained.
Yep.
So yeah, a second. If it was looking like it was gonna be really late, I might pass. But like a random second, I think I would take the random second. I'd pay a third, but I don't think that's going to happen.
So start your negotiations at maybe 2/3 or something like that, and see where it leads. If you're interested in buying. An interesting
trade on the Patreon that I saw.
I like it, Pat.
There was one Puka trade one real one that I've actually seen that actually happened, and it was Puka Nacua in a first for DJ Moore in a second. And I would rather have Nacua in the first. But that's the only Puka Nacua trade I've actually seen. So, some food for thought. DJ Moore is, I'm done with DJ Moore. DJ Moore, I saw enough in game one that I'm
it's done. More, I saw enough of Justin Fields almost. Like, they're not going to try to get. I wish they were trying to force him the ball, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, like I said, well, I didn't say it, but it has nothing to do with Justin Fields' play because the passing attempts actually were there. The problem,
but not down the field.
It has nothing to do with where the passing attempts are. The problem is there was no DJ Moore didn't get 10 targets compared to 3 for everyone else. DJ Moore is not an alpha in this offense. He's just not. You would have seen the usage. The problem is that Darnell Mooney had 7 targets, and so did Cole Kmet, and DJ Moore had 2. It just wasn't. It's not like DeAndre Hopkins, who has targets schemed up for him specifically. DJ Moore is closer to everyone else than he is an alpha. And that's what I was hoping would not be the case, but it is.
Chase Claypool and DJ Moore had the same amount of targets on Sunday.
Well, Chase Claypool. Let's watch.
If that's all you need to hear, that's terrible. It's terrible.
Chase Claypool is not going to be on the team in about a week because they're going to play him the video. And I don't know if anyone here watched the video.
Oh, I've seen it.
If you watch the video of Chase Claypool's, I'm not even going to call them reps because he didn't do that. He didn't do reps. He wasn't there. He's sleepwalking through his reps. He's not paying attention. He is going to be removed from the field for the next game and quickly out of the league if it continues this type of behavior. Go ahead.
I mean, just terrible that he's even on the team right now. Like he needs to go. Maybe DJ Moore inherits all of those snaps and all of those targets and then gets 4 total.
It's not going to change anything.
Great.
Tyler Scott's just going to step into Chase Claypool's role. And I do like Tyler Scott as a deep league stash because I do think he was someone who was underdrafted. He was someone I liked. College profile was good. And I do think there are dynasty leagues where he's been cut. And I would say that he's worth a flyer at least over being cut. Not going to pay anything for him, but he shouldn't be cut.
Yeah, for free 99, I'm in.
Yeah. Where were we? Let's get to this super chat. Can we do that? Can we get up to
the Edward says sign me up for the Patreon.
Yes.
For sure.
Sign up for the Patreon. That's very important.
Got JSN Komet, gave James Cook in a first. Start Nacua or London?
I'll start Nacua. I can't start London. And then this.
How are you feeling on that trade?
It's a close trade.
Yeah, I need to know a little bit. I will
let's
say.
Let's assume Superflex PPR Dynasty.
James Cook looked good.
Mm-hmm.
I am generally loath to give up firsts unless I have to. Unless I feel like I'm getting a wondrous, amazing, can't pass up deal. This is not that. If it's one QB, though, I'll probably just do it because how many players are going to be available in a one QB draft that are better than JSN? Maybe one a year, two. It's worth the risk. In a super flex, though, it's risky because you don't know how many quarterbacks there are going to be. And probably any quarterback drafted in the top 5 is going to be worth more than JSN. Very hard to be worth more than those quarterbacks. Those quarterbacks are worth so much. So in a super flex, I'd probably take a pass. Unless I knew it was going to be very late. You know, a team that won their first game and was like first in points and also has a loaded roster, then maybe. Didn't suffer any injuries, then maybe. But otherwise, the risk is mostly on the side getting JSN.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out which of these players, like if you're given the first for them, you want a certified stud that's going to give you a championship. JSN's a long-term play. Komet's a annoying tight end to put in your lineup and pray for a touchdown. Like now you're giving up a running back 2 or 3 and a first to get rebuild pieces. Like that doesn't make sense to me. I love JSN, amazing prospect. He's not winning you a championship this year unless something crazy happens.
Yeah.
I think it's summed up well, guys. I'm right there with you. If it's a super flex league, I want to get the first here. If it's not, I guess I'll take JSN, but Komet's kind of just a throw-in in here.
James Cook looked really good. I will say.
If James Cook had scored a touchdown, people would be freaking out this week, ready to throw him in the lineup, making sure he's.
Damian Harris got essentially no work at all. He played behind Latavius Murray.
James Cook got 6 targets.
Yeah, the workload was there.
And the receiving yards weren't fully there following that many targets, but the receiving work's there. He got enough carries out of the backfield to be relevant.
And the Jets have a great defense.
But because he didn't score, I think it'll go under the radar. But 12 carries and 6 targets is the usage you want. I don't think many people expected much more than that.
I didn't realize how much he had until the end of the game. I looked at the box score and was like,
it's because he didn't do that much with it. But his share of the running back touches was very high. He had 12 of the 15 running back carries and, 4 of the 7 catches. The only thing is he didn't catch 2 of his targets. I mean, there was opportunity for it to be a bigger game, but he didn't kill you.
And I think Josh Allen's ending drives prematurely definitely hurt that red zone opportunity.
That did not help.
Hopefully he gets that figured out going into week 2.
Yeah. Let's go back to wherever we were.
Yeah. Quick answer, Tyler. Russell Wilson or Joe Burrow this week?
Burrow.
All right.
I have Russell Wilson at 21, even lower than I did last week. I have no interest in Russell.
Definitely Joe Burrow.
We've got almost 30 people in the chat. Make sure that you guys are checking out Tyler's Patreon. We want to make sure that the bills are paid and that you guys can have on-demand access to Tyler and his content at all times, even when we aren't live.
Yeah.
Kyron or Roshan, PPR redraft?
It's brutal because Roshan has more upside.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people like crowning Roshan as a workhorse. They're box score watching. A majority of his touches came in garbage time. So I'm not sure how that crown is. I will say on the Bears, with the way their offense was run, you need to get everything. It's like the Bills. You need to get everything. If you don't get everything or 70% or more, you won't. It's not enough. You need to get 70% or more. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So I'll lean Kyren in redraft. In Dynasty, I think Roshan is the more talented player. I do like him. And I do think there's a world in which he develops into something good. Because I liked what I saw week 1. It was a good start. But in redraft, I'll take Kyren. I think he's the one with much more upside.
Yeah, I don't know if Roshan gets 92% garbage time touch work.
Yeah. Also, this coming week, I mean, Kyren is the one you can start. Roshan, I don't think you can. I still have Khalil Herbert ranked higher.
Quickly, we want to answer, why are you guys so handsome?
Takes a lot of work. And, I mean, that mustache, I got to say, it just...
Thank you.
Like, it just really adds... It, like, levels us up in terms of handsomeness. There's no doubt about it. So, just got to say.
Just here for you guys. And also, this is where you can check me out. This is the show, Fantasy Football RPG. This is probably my co-host heckling me because we're going live in 15 minutes. But if you guys want to check us out later.
Should or will Gus Edwards get the most touches with Dobbins out? We haven't touched on the J.K. Dobbins
We haven't
injury.
talked about that at all. Yeah, that's
and
true.
Should I get my jersey? No. Yeah.
I'm not going to take a victory lap on J.K. Dobbins because he actually looked really good before he got hurt. Yeah. So I liked his usage. I feel bad for him.
I mean, I'm a Ravens fan, but I haven't felt more bad for a player like getting injured in a long time, to be honest. But probably because I'm a Ravens fan. But it just,
I felt bad. I felt bad.
He never got paid, No,
and he never will now.
Yeah,
he never will. Also, I love Person G. Person G. We're gonna work on that. That's very, very good.
I was sad because I feel like the J.K. Dobbins injury will be used by owners to continue to not pay running backs, as he was a very outspoken throughout this offseason of you need to pay running backs. I want to renegotiate my contract. I want to get paid something before something like this happens. And one half of football later, he's looking at roughly could be an end of career, but never the same type injury.
Yeah.
It sucks because like in terms of actually running their teams, like not paying running backs is the right move. And I hate it. But it sucks. I mean, but the running back contract should never work. So, get it.
Yeah. I traded Puka.
We never answered that question though. We didn't answer that question at all.
We didn't. No,
right.
We just got
we didn't answer that question at all.
I lean Justice Hill personally as the person that's going to get the most touches. I think Gus Edwards probably gets the most carries, but it's going to be a split, and Melvin Gordon's probably going to be involved. We could see other guys involved. I wouldn't want to rely on anyone in the Ravens.
No, I wouldn't either. I think that people are overstating how much Justice Hill it's going to be because Justice Hill scored 2 touchdowns. He went 8 carries for 9 yards. I mean, he was bad.
The Ravens like Justice Hill. He's going to be on the field.
They like Gus Edwards.
At least 35% of plays, and he's going to get targeted more than Gus Edwards. I mean, not a lot. I mean, the Ravens. They threw the running back position a bit this week, and maybe that's a sign of things to come a little bit more than what they have done in the past, because there's going to be a lot less design runs, 100%. There were in week 1. So I think Justice Hill will get the most touches.
I mean, yeah, it's hard because essentially J.K. Dobbins had everything before he went out.
Yeah.
And then it sucks. I mean, I don't know. Based on their careers, Gus Edwards is far superior. So we'll have to see. Therefore I would lean Gus Edwards between the two, but I don't think either one is going to be very valuable. They're not high on my list in redraft because they're probably both on waivers. They're not high on my list of redraft pickups because I just think the upside is low because I think no matter how many people get injured, this is always going to be a committee. There's always going to be a committee. I will say this, though. This is going to go under the radar, but it's something I talked about during the offseason. I think that when Keaton Mitchell comes off IR, there's a good chance that he actually becomes the starter. He made the team, the 53-man roster. He made the original team. They didn't have to. A lot of times when rookies are hurt, they just go on IR with an injury settlement or something.
He was impressive in the preseason, too.
Very impressive in the preseason. I think that he's someone that a lot of people forgot about when he went on the IR, but I'm not saying to pick him up in redraft.
Dynasty, yeah.
Dynasty, though,
yeah.
I moved him up significantly in my Dynasty rankings because this is the kind of player you want. There's no upside to Gus Edwards. I mean, he has, 8 receptions in his life? I
think that's including college stats.
I don't think that's that far off. I mean, I'm gonna go look it up now. We're gonna look it up.
I think it's a little.
I was a little bit.
That was fantastic.
18 receptions in his life.
He's a 28-year-old running back.
Yeah, 18 receptions on compared to 509 carries.
Mm-hmm.
So Gus Edwards has very little upside. He basically has to have a touchdown to not be a disaster and 2 touchdowns to have a really good game. Justice Hill, I don't think Justice Hill can handle. It's kind of the same. I don't think that you're going to get receptions to the running back without Dobbins. Dobbins was a good receiver, and he didn't even really get receptions. Justice Hill is not as good at that. So I think they're just going to cancel the passing to the running back at all. You have Zay Flowers now, which is going to cancel it. Zay Flowers is being used in that role. So I think, and when Mark Andrews comes back, it's only going to be even less. So I think the passing to the running back is going to be canceled. And then Justice Hill is probably more explosive. Gus Edwards is more reliable. I don't think you're going to be able to trust. Melvin Gordon is going to get irrelevant carries. Like I said, they're not high on my list for redraft. For Dynasty, Justice Hill was almost certainly on your Dynasty waiver wire. I doubt he was rostered.
I have him in one league, but it's really deep. But yeah.
I would be willing to bid in Dynasty 30 to 40% because players don't come around in Dynasty that much that are usable at all, and he's on that list. So in Dynasty, I always recommend using your fab when there's anyone who's going to have an immediate role available, because there's 5 of those opportunities a season and 12 people in your league. So yeah, 30, 40% on him. I'm fine bidding. Go ahead.
All right. I traded Puka for Alvin Kamara. Competing team with young wide receivers. What do you think?
There are worse things you could have done. In my rankings, I do still have Kamara higher, but you're taking a lot of risk here in that I think there's much more upside in Puka. Although I will say, with how bad Jamal Williams looked, Kamara is probably, and Kendra Miller can't stay on the field. Kamara is probably going to be a good 1-year asset. So there are worse things you could have done. I mean, you got Puka for nothing. So
I don't love that you're a competing team, but I like the trade in general. Getting a young, high upside wide receiver for a 28-year-old running back that probably
he got Kamara.
You got Kamara.
Oh, so yeah, it makes a lot more sense. It makes a lot more sense now. Okay. Yeah, I was like, why is a competing team doing this? It's a little strange, but I like it as a competing team.
You got probably 1 to 2 years of Kamara left.
Yeah.
And
yeah. He's going to be a fine RB2
I will have
spike weeks.
I will happily take that risk of Puka Nacua being a top-end wide receiver, the guy that breaks the mold.
I want to talk about the Puka Nacua experience, but I feel like we've talked about it so much. Already.
We've talked about it so much.
So much. I also want to talk about Drake London, but I think that I think we'll see if there are more questions.
Too much cool here. Looking great as always, gents. Shout out F4.
Aw. I made a trade in our league.
I knew
traded
you did.
Tutu Atwell.
I knew you traded something, but I didn't look at it yet.
Yeah, for 2/4. I don't like Tutu Atwell. Plus, I'm tanking, so I want to get no more points. Your ridiculous switching rule that apparently caught like 3 people by surprise caused a big problem.
They knew.
Did they?
They just forgot.
Did they?
Breece is unreal. We agree.
Yeah, I moved Breece back to my RB2 in Dynasty.
Breece's performance made me think when I was offered early spring, Breece and 23 first, like it was like pick 8 for my 101. Was that worth it? Or did I make the right deal by staying with Bijan?
Somebody getting at that 108, it's maybe Zay Flowers, right?
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's the super flex.
Yeah,
a lot of people may have taken the Quentin Johnston who went for 2 catches, 3 yards.
Yeah,
in a shootout.
Yeah, QJ has been slow.
That was more concerning.
Slow to develop, not running slow.
Brissett is the only journeyman mid QB I would consider.
I heard people talk about that,
but
I don't know. I mean,
I'm more concerned the Commanders would want to potentially start him with how Howell looked. Howell wasn't great. I'd hesitate to say good. He managed to get through that game and and the Commanders won against a team
was fine.
against a Cardinals team that
he was
had no
playing
business.
A bottom 2 defense and he looked medium. That's a red flag.
I will say though, with the way the Commanders are going, I think that it's either make Sam Howell work or Ron Rivera won't be the coach anymore. I don't think Ron Rivera can go to Jakobi Brissett. I think that'll be the end of his job. I think I think Sam Howell is his last chance. I think if he goes to Jakobi Brissett, he's pretty much already fired. His last chance is if he can make Sam Howell work. So I don't see Jakobi Brissett going in unless Ron Rivera's gone.
Which is kind of sad that an NFL coach with a pretty long history of coaching, his career is tied to a 5th round quarterback in his second year.
That's why I would push back against it a little bit, because if Jakobi Brissett gets them into the playoffs somehow, I
think it's true.
Come on,
he is tied to Sam Howell.
Jakobi Brissett,
I think quarterback. I think the coach is gone regardless of the end of the year. I don't think there's anything he can do. I don't think he all but winning the NFC East can guarantee that he.
Well, then we're saying something different. Then if we think he's losing his job regardless, then he should put in whoever is going to give him the best chance to win, right? I don't know, right? I don't know.
Well, it's been fun, guys. I'm deeply sorry, but I have to go to my own show. They would be kind of sad without me.
No,
Tyler, thanks for having me on. Josh, Patrick, nice to meet you, boys.
Yeah,
everybody in the chat, keep shooting these questions over. I mean, Tyler's a smart guy, and Josh does what he does. So
that sums me up perfectly, actually. Thank you.
But,
I love that.
Thanks again for having me on the show.
You became my favorite guest.
Yeah. If you guys want to find my writing, I write over at Last Word on Sports. If you want to find my podcast, it's the Fantasy Football RPG podcast. It's all like Dungeons and Dragons themed because we're extra nerds. But thanks again, and good luck with the rest of the show, boys.
See you, man.
That's not right. That's better. There we go. I really like this question because as we finished talking recently about J.K. Dobbins in the backfield, is Zay Flowers a starter every week?
Yes.
I would say that I want to see what the offense looks like with Mark Andrews. Is he a top 30 wide receiver for me next week? Yes, he would be. So I guess he is a starter right now every week until further notice. But I could see a world where Mark Andrews is taking a lot of these targets that Zay Flowers got. So I want to say yes, but I'm hesitant, even as a Ravens fan.
When the first round pick gets this kind of volume, it always sticks. It always sticks every time. When it's a first round pick, it's always sticks when they get the volume this early. So until he doesn't get the volume, he will be a starter.
My reaction,
pretty much exactly what I said. I think.
No.
My reaction to seeing all the workload for Zay Flowers was there's a guy in my home dynasty league who has top players fall to him in rookie drafts over and over and over again. He's had Justin Herbert fall to him. He's had Jamar Chase fall to him. He had Jonathan Taylor fall to him because someone took Clyde Edwards-Helaire over him. He had Zay Flowers fall to him in the second round. At the beginning of the second round, I just look at him like he can't keep getting away with it meme, as these top tier assets keep falling into his lap because people make boneheaded draft decisions ahead of him. All right, enough of that rant. Got number one waiver. Who would y'all pick up, Tyler Allgeier or Kelly?
Tyler Allgeier. Because you can actually play Tyler Allgeier this week. Whereas unless Austin Eckler misses the game entirely, I don't think you're going to be able to play Joshua Kelly. Tyler Allgeier is a good start this week.
Did we all forget that Joshua Kelly just isn't great at football?
Yeah,
he looked better.
He looked better, but
he looked fantastic.
That was his best.
Really.
He's played in the league for 3 years, and that was his best game.
That's true.
Sorry. It was
4 years. This is year 4.
This is year 4.
Yeah.
He had 15.8 PPR points, I think. He's had one game of 16.1, a couple games in the 12 and the 13s, and no other games of double-digit points. Is that what you're hitching your team to if Austin Eckler doesn't go? Is he going to slide into your lineup? Austin Eckler misses a week.
Yes.
Is he falling into your lineup?
Yes, because I don't feel like you have a choice.
I think you
he's sliding in there. He's real sneaky.
I don't think you do though, because 1 out of 12 teams has Austin Eckler on their team, and there's a good chance that he's not going to Austin Eckler's that manager. I feel like he's not going to go into your starting lineup, and you're not going to be happy with him. I
didn't say you would be happy with him. I'm just saying he's probably finding a way in there.
He's going to rank as a starter for me. I'm going to rank him in my top 20 if Austin Eckler doesn't go.
Okay.
It's just such a good offense in general. I'm not saying they're necessarily the best running game in the NFL or anything, but it's just when you got weapons like they have, you have a great quarterback, and it looks like Kelly is definitely the running back 2 there.
I don't think anybody else saw any work.
Yeah.
Or just the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Spiller wasn't even active, which is insane to me. But
and
nobody else saw
if something happened to Eckler, Isaiah Spiller would be active, and I'm sure Kelly's no running backs getting 100% of the work, so Kelly would be splitting some in some regard. But I mean, back to the original question, Allgeier, I would pick up for Kelly.
What would it take in draft capital for us to move off of Sam Howell in the Superflex
What's up,
league?
Craig?
I already have A-Rich, Herbert, and Kyler, so I don't really need him. Are you wanting that late second?
Oh, I need more.
Random second?
No, I want more than that. So
Early
I'm probably
second?
not going to sell him. He's probably a hold. Yeah, early second would be good.
I traded Aiden O'Connell for an early second after his big preseason.
Would you
Wow,
give
that-
What type of? I don't even know why I brought it up. I was offered the trade.
what type of receiver would you look to gain by trading Sam Howell for? Sam Howell for
Probably a receiver I can't get, but go ahead.
Puka Nacua?
Oh, that's brutal.
I'd rather have Sam Howell.
I'd rather have Sam Howell.
Okay.
But that's a good name.
That's a good
Starting point.
I'm sure a lot of people are asking that.
Nacua in a third?
I don't know. I thought Sam Howell looked fine. I wasn't
fine against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I wasn't too disappointed though, considering it was, only his second ever start. I honestly, I liked that he got like outside the pocket and scored a rushing touchdown. I don't know. I feel like there's more value upside, as weird as this is to say, with Sam Howell than there is with Puka Nacua.
Okay.
Unless you think Cooper Kupp's never going to come back, and then maybe. But
like, Cooper Kupp in a second. I'll take it.
That I would take over Sam Howell. Let's go. But like, I don't think Cooper Kupp died. That's the other thing. Is like Cooper Kupp's contract is very guaranteed, and I don't think he died. I think he's going to come back and be the wide receiver 1 on the team when he comes back. I mean, the Rams just beat a team that a lot of people think is at least above average, right? If they can keep the ship going at a steady pace, you know,
I think the big thing that people didn't account for is that Matthew Stafford looks fine. Like there's no problem. Like none. Like he's not hurt at all. Like he looks completely healthy and totally effective. There was no limitations. And I think that's what people haven't gotten in their heads yet.
And he didn't have a great fantasy game, so it's probably going to take a little bit longer for people to think that. But he had a very good game. I'm not taking away from what
you're saying. He had 334 yards. Yeah, exactly. He had a really good game. The problem was that all 3 touchdowns came from the ground. And there were 40 rushing attempts, so I get it. But, you know, easily there could have been a passing touchdown in there. It just didn't happen. But the one play where he was pressured in the pocket, avoided the rush, and then stepped up and made a good completion, that play told me that he is healthy. And Matthew Stafford is 35, not 39. There is no reason why he can't play 3 more years. I don't think he's going to be someone who can play until 40, but he's someone who could play until 37 or 38. He's a quarterback. Most good quarterbacks last until 37 or 38, and then they're done.
All right. Also got Zach Wilson for a 4th this offseason in another league. Would you send him off for a random second in any year?
Yes.
Yes.
If I can get a 25 second, I'm taking it. I don't know if it's a 26.
I'd rather have a 24 second.
Sounds it's weird.
26 is too far away.
I don't even like trading for 26 picks. Yeah, really.
Neither do I. It gets kind of weird.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm trading for picks that are not going to exist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But yeah, if I can get a second, I'm feeling pretty good about cashing in that investment.
So tight ends tend to have a wasteland beyond like the top 12 to 15, beyond the top 12. In a tight end premium super flex league, what tight ends would you all target with thirds?
A buy? I feel like I'm not gonna like the answer here.
What tight ends would you target with thirds? How about like someone? No, you're not. No. I mean, if someone
could be really angry at Chigakonkwo,
I almost going to say him. That's what I was literally going to say the same exact thing.
Okay, Chigakonkwo is someone I would consider buying because the snaps were there, the usage was there. He
just
almost
had a touchdown.
Didn't? Yeah. Oh, if you saw that play, I mean, he literally was wide open. Behind the defense, and Ryan Tannehill missed by a lot.
Yeah.
But he played 83% of the snaps. He was out there. No other tight end really did anything. So, I mean, yeah, he played the second. Treylon Burks played 90% of the snaps. And he played 83, which was the second most of any of their offensive weapons. More than DeAndre Hopkins. So, yeah, if someone's mad at him, I could see that being a good value. Other than that, I mean, maybe Greg Dulcich. I'm not as excited about it, but now that he's missing time, I mean, if I tight end premium, very few tight ends have a rookie production profile like his. So it's only going to cost me a third in tight end premium. I might. Oh, there you go. There. You're here,
Ryan.
What's up?
We've been waiting
Live
for you.
from the office.
Oh
looking
man,
good, man.
I
You're looking
rushed
good.
home, just walked in the door.
We're so proud.
You got corporate Ryan this time.
Oh,
My favorite, my second favorite Ryan.
the other Ryan made a cameo at some point from the darkness.
Oh, he did.
Oh,
Yeah. He said he was going to come back, but I don't.
He was
He's a
driving.
liar.
But-
Yeah, he was driving. That's true.
All right.
You're probably not getting a Luke Musgrave though, by the way.
I
Right?
gotta,
Oh, fuck
No,
no.
no.
I gotta tell you, there's
Yeah,
so
no.
much to hit on
Yeah,
this
and
week
listen,
too. I feel like I missed
first in
a
a while.
bad week.
The question was targeting with thirds. I'd say 2 thirds.
You're not getting Luke Musgrave with any sort of third anything.
2 thirds? I don't know. Maybe you can.
No.
He didn't have that
No.
good of a game.
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I wish.
We've touched on this a little bit.
Try.
Does the recent Gainwell practice news fade him at all? If he misses this week, could he fall down the depth chart?
I'd rather have Puka Nacua over Gainwell because of that. But I'd still rather have Gainwell over those other two. Joshua Kelly is just a handcuff. I don't think he got usage because Austin Eckler was hurt. Kyron Williams, I don't know if they're going to be 37 carries to go around every week. And I still don't see that Kyron Williams is going to get everything. Just because he gets more doesn't mean it's going to be everything. So if there's only a week where there's only 20 carries or 25, and I also don't think I still do not think the Rams are very good. And I don't think the Rams are going to be in positive game scripts all the time. And if the game script goes negative, there might be a lot fewer rushing attempts. So,
Please
Do you
don't
feel
drop
like with
Gainwell.
the ineffectiveness of Cam Akers that Williams, can you see a path to taking over there?
oh, absolutely. I mean, I would have Williams above Kelly, but I just think that
Definitely.
Kenneth Gainwell, of these options, of the 3 running backs listed here, is the best player. And he's also
he feels the safest and has the most upside.
I agree with that. Because you saw the usage. The usage was Kenneth Gainwell gets everything. And if that is the reality at any point, if you get someone in that kind of offense who gets everything, then we have James Cook. We have that scenario. Someone in a rushing quarterback offense who gets everything. That's a very valuable player. Whereas Kyron Williams at his best. Are you ever going to rank Kyron Williams in the top 20 and start sit? I don't think so.
If he's literally getting all the work,
If
Right.
Cam Akers went away, but I don't even think. I think even if Cam Akers went away, they would find a way to give someone else touches. I don't think Kyron Williams.
like if he was
someone
getting
you can
Cam
get.
Akers touches the last 6 games of last season, like you're probably
Yes.
ranking him there.
But I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think that they'd get Zach
I
Evans.
tend to agree with
I do think something that could be on the horizon is that Cam Akers is just out of the picture and Zach Evans comes in as the backup. I think that is possible. I don't think Kyron Williams is going anywhere. I think he's the one with the year-long role. I would say, though, one point about Cam Akers. I don't think Cam Akers is horrible or like the worst player ever.
He's got
I
the
wouldn't-
DeAndre Swift in him.
No, I actually think Cam Akers is someone we've only seen a problem with this coaching staff, not 3 different ones. So I just think Sean McVay has a certain type of offense he wants to run, and Cam Akers is not suitable for that offense at all. And it's always been Sean McVay when he's been there. Cam Akers is just not suitable for that offense. He does not fit that offense. He doesn't. He doesn't run the type of running scheme that McVay wants to run. But I do think Cam Akers could sign elsewhere next offseason and be someone who, has a career that continues. Yeah, absolutely. But has a career that continues. So I would not remove Cam Akers from your Dynasty roster. I don't think he's going the way of Darrell Henderson, who's just vanished from the planet Earth.
The thing that scares me with Akers is it just like, I feel like as soon as any running back gets an Achilles tear at any point in their career, I know it's 2021 at this point, but he's just not the Cam Akers before the Achilles tear. And I don't think he'll ever get there. And that's kind of a sad trajectory, but just a reality. So I could see a world where he doesn't stay the starting guy in the Rams offense. So,
well, I've already dropped him out of the ranking point of being any sort of starter. In Dynasty, I have him below Swift. Like,
Really?
I'd rather.
Wow.
Yeah, I have him below Swift. I think it's even worse because Swift is.
I think the thing with Swift is there's a scenario where he gets traded, or well, he's at his last year of his contract, but when he leaves the Eagles after this year, there's still a dynasty trajectory where he could be a starter in the next offense he goes to. I feel like we're seeing kind of the end of the Cam Akers. If he doesn't
I think
produce
there's more
this year.
of a chance that this is Cam Akers' last year in the NFL than this is DeAndre Swift's last year in the NFL.
Agreed with that 100%.
And I think neither of them have almost any upside at all. But Cam Akers is in the range of like Jalen Warren, AJ Dillon. Like these are players who are ranked similarly to him in Dynasty to me. That's the range that he's in.
I actually kind of like more. That's what's crazy.
Ooh.
I almost kind of like Jalen Warren more than Cam Akers at this point. Like that's how.
Not good. Not good in week 1. Not good.
No.
Not
Nothing
good at
was
all.
good with the Steelers, really.
No, everything was bad, but he was a part of it. He was a part of the bad things. He was.
Yeah.
You were hoping he would be like
unless you're
like
an Allen Robinson
light
fan.
Allen Robinson.
Someone in my league got a third for Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson looked
Monday
good.
morning.
Allen Robinson
Congratulations.
actually legitimately looked good, and that is genuinely scary. But he did. I mean, it would be a lie to tell you he didn't. He did actually look good. I don't know how that happened, but it's the reality. That's actually what happened. So, that's just what I saw. Jalen Warren looked like doggy poo. I mean,
He got his 6 targets, though.
And how did he? What I'm saying is he looked so bad that I'm not sure that there's going to be more work in Jalen Warren's future. I mean, it was 3 carries for 6 yards. I mean, it's the 3 carries. All I remember is them all being bad.
49ers effect, maybe though.
Maybe, but he didn't look good. He didn't look good. You would think you would see something explosive, and he did not deliver on that at all. Like, I don't care who you're playing. You can look good or look bad, and he didn't look good. So I'm hoping that was just the 49ers, but I don't know. I mean, not that Najee Harris looked great either, but Najee Harris at least got something going on the ground a little. Jalen Warren didn't have anything going anywhere.
Guys, I got a dip.
Oh,
I
yeah.
leave.
No,
This was planned, but I love you guys. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you guys soon.
yeah.
Glad our paths crossed for a little bit there.
Yeah, that was, I had lots of extra. We can even have our overlay. At least until other Ryan gets here, potentially. I don't know where he is. Yeah. Let's talk about this. Go ahead.
We've had a couple questions about Rashid Shaheed in the chat. Do we think he has entered flex territory in Dynasty?
Well, I have him at wide receiver 47 this week. So would you say that's potential flex, depending on the format?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the depth of the league.
If you're going to start 10 or start 11, yeah.
The snap count is low, though. He's only playing 54%. The problem with Rashid Shaheed is I think it's the kind of thing where, so we talk about how targets are earned, right? I think that Rashid Shaheed is a good player. I think a healthy Michael Thomas is a better player. And Chris Olave is an alpha. So I think that if Michael Thomas were to disappear, Rashid Shaheed is someone who is talented enough to be a wide receiver 2 on a team. He has that ability. That's always something I want to distinguish when we say vacated targets. The problem is, does the player lower on the depth chart have the ability to play the higher role? I think Rashid Shaheed does. I think he is one of the best 64 wide receivers in the NFL. I do. I think he's someone who has the ability to play the higher target role. So if the role opens for him, I think he will succeed because I think he has the talent. So he's someone, yes, in Dynasty I am interested. He's not old. He's been very successful on the plays he's opportunities he's received, he's been very good on those. And he's somewhat usable from week to week, depending on the matchup. So, yes. In Dynasty, I can tell you where I rank him. I probably don't have him that high. I have him at wide receiver 61. So, yeah.
All right. I like this question, but I also have to ask the question why. Traded Carr, third QB, and a 2024 second for Mixon and a 2024 third. Needed a Dobbins replacement. Why?
It's a big mistake.
Why'd you buy an aging running back and give up the better pick?
Big mistake. One of these two players in the trade looked good week 1. It just wasn't Joe Mixon. I told people. They didn't listen to me because they never do. But they didn't listen. I said, Joe Mixon is what he is. He's not going to get more work just because Samaje Perine is gone. Everyone said, there's no more competition, so he's going to get all the carries. No, that's not how it works. They just gave the third down role and split it between Trevion Williams and Chris Evans, who both did nothing. But the role was there nonetheless. Joe Mixon's role didn't change because it's never changed. Why would it get better in his age 27 season? It's not going to. But people didn't listen to me. They just said that I was crazy. And, they didn't listen. So Joe Mixon, he was fine. He had 13 carries, 3 receptions. Didn't kill you. But he didn't get the workhorse role that people were saying he would. Just because the RB2 role was split between 2 people instead of 1 didn't mean that Joe Mixon's role as RB1 changed. I tried to tell people this, but it doesn't matter. So pull the trade back up.
I was putting this up because go sign up for the Patreon so we can.
Well, yeah, then you won't make mistakes like this. I mean, asking me after you make a terrible trade, there's only so much I can do.
My concern with his logic here, because he's like, I needed a Dobbins replacement, is now you've handcuffed and really short-sighted your team, where you're down to 2 starting quarterbacks. You just gave up a second-round pick for a running back. What happens if one of your quarterbacks goes down now? You're out paying for another quarterback again. When your league knows that you absolutely need one to be relevant.
You can't do this. You can't just overpay to fill a hole, and then you're playing whack-a-mole forever.
Yep. Thank you. Whack-a-mole is the game I was looking for. Like, you're chasing something down.
Not good.
I'd much rather move like Carr for a pick in that instance, right? If you're going to do that, at least build for your future. But like Nixon's aging, he's age 27 already. The usage we saw this week was not different than what we saw last year. So I'm in the same boat. I think that's a reaction to an injury to Dobbins. I'd rather almost waiver wire hunt for running back dart throws and keep your third quarterback and get better value as the season goes on.
Yeah. Pick 2 to start.
Ryan's
here.
now.
I know. Pick 2 to start. Well, it sucks because I hate all these options. Forced to choose. For the sake of the question, I'll assume there is no Kenneth Gainwell, because if there is, then DeAndre Swift's not a choice. But if there's no Kenneth Gainwell,
right,
I think I'd still go with James Conner and Jamal Williams. I don't.
That's where my gut is too.
Yep.
I just can't. Not over these two. I think if there's no Kenneth Gainwell, I'll have DeAndre Swift probably at like running back 30. And I could start him. But we know that James Conner and Jamal Williams are going to get volume. It might not be very good, but they're going to see the field. DeAndre Swift, even without Kenneth Gainwell, could somehow give you another 0. So I can't. I need to see DeAndre Swift actually see some touches before I can possibly put him in my lineup.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Jamal Williams also had enough volume to be relevant, right? Even though he only had 45 yards on it, he had the volume.
Almost got there. He also had 2 catches, which I never would have expected. It's like 2 more than he had all of last season.
Would you be worried about Terry McLaurin as your wide receiver 2 flex?
Oh, yeah.
I have a little. So as a Commanders fan, I watched the entire game. I didn't flop with Red Zone. I watched just that game. And my fear was, I didn't see the explosiveness that I'm used to seeing in McLaurin. He's not like known for being a super explosive receiver, but there was a little bit less explosiveness than I had seen in the past from him. The bigger thing was I felt like Sam Howell started to lean more on Jahan Dotson. That was his first read, way more than it was McLaurin. I don't know if that's game script or what, but that was the first time in Washington that I've seen McLaurin not be the main target for his quarterback. So that does have me a little bit worried. One game, I'm not being overreactionary. I'd prefer to see him as your wide receiver 3 than a 2. Not worried about him as a flex, but there's a little bit of concern as of where I had him ranked before the season to what I saw. And I feel like even just watching him jog off the field in pre-games, like it just looked like the toe was still an issue. So it's starting to cause a little bit of concern, but I wouldn't say that I'm like worried yet.
All right. A name I saw pulled up with the Jets, but we didn't touch on it.
What lies were told about Terry McLaurin while I was gone?
No, it was very. I held some concern, and I said I feel like Jahan Dotson was the main guy in that offense this week. He was the first target for. Yep.
He looks slow.
I don't think the toe is healthy. It was not the same Terry McLaurin that I'm used to seeing. So.
But I'm hoping it's better this week.
Yeah.
On a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being that they absolutely do this, do you guys think the Vikings would give up Cousins to the Jets if they go 0-3?
No.
It's like a 5 for me. I don't know, 0 to 100 scale.
I don't see this happening. I mean, Cousins' cap hit is so large. I mean, the salary would go with. This is not realistic. The Jets have $10 million in cap space. This is not a realistic idea.
Drop Damian Harris.
Also has the no trade clause, and I don't see him wanting to go to New York. So I feel like that alone shoots this down. I don't see him as a guy that's going to want to go to New York. I think we're more likely to see Kirk Cousins with San Fran next year than we are to see him with the Jets this year.
Oh, absolutely. That is a possibility. Although I will say, if Brock Purdy continues how he played in week 1, that's not going to
right.
We have a lot of ors in this question, and I'm trying to figure out which one is for.
Yeah, I don't. Damian Harris can go. I mean, Damian Harris was irrelevant. He played as the RB3, way behind Latavius Murray. So Damian Harris in redraft, I saw him ranked in week 2 start sit in Fantasy Pros at like running back 40. That is, people are not paying attention because I have him at RB 58 for week 2, and I think that's generous to have him ranked at all. He's drop in any redraft format. He can go. Rashad Bateman too, played 38% of snaps. Goodbye. 38% of snaps with Mark Andrews out. Goodbye. He can go. In redraft, he is totally irrelevant. You cannot waste your time on a wide receiver 3 on that offense. So goodbye. The other 2, we've already talked about. Of course, I would lean Puka over Kyren, but I'd rather have either of them over either of these 2.
Yes,
absolutely. I will say Rashad Bateman. Let's go back to Rashad Bateman for 1 second. If I were the Ravens, might I be interested in offering Rashad Bateman in a trade for one Jonathan Taylor? Interesting idea. I would consider it because you're not using Rashad Bateman. You're not using him, but he's a wide receiver. Wide receivers are hard to find. The Colts are displeased with Alec Pierce. I will say he looked terrible in the first game. Drops, so it looked all out of sorts. Not good. Not good at all. So would they consider taking a flyer? It's going to be very hard to get a wide receiver to sign with the Colts, other than Michael Pittman, who's already there. You know, it's going to be difficult to bring in someone in this running offense. So Could they take a flyer on Rashad Bateman and a Jonathan Taylor trade? Is it kind of fantasy football? Yeah, probably. Would it be interesting? Maybe. But for redraft, that wouldn't help. Rashad Bateman will be even more relevant on Indianapolis than he is on Baltimore.
All the reports out of the Colts with Jonathan Taylor news was that they were asking for wide receivers from teams.
That's why I bring it up.
Yep. I just wanted to throw that out there for those that didn't catch.
Because I think that's a wide receiver they might actually be able to get. I think even in NFL terms, Jonathan Taylor is worth more than Rashad Bateman.
All right.
And the Ravens are desperate. Like, now we have that team who it's everything you'd want. It is a run-heavy offense. Yes. A playoff contender. Check. A team that we saw from their dominance usage wants to use one running back as the primary guy. Check. All three things we have on one team. This is your Jonathan Taylor team that would actually trade for him and actually pay something significant. Maybe Bateman and a second-round pick was the most they could get, but that's still more than they're going to get from anyone else.
I like this trade.
Works for both teams, too.
Breece Hall, Zay Flowers, or CeeDee Lamb and Puka Nacua.
Breece Hall and Zay Flowers. By a lot. It's not close. If you told me that in 8 weeks Zay Flowers was the most valuable thing in this trade, I would find that I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be blown away. I can't tell you that that's not possible because it is possible. So Breece Hall and Zay Flowers very easily.
All right. It's wild. If you looked at my timeline, you think Zach Wilson turned the ball over 4 times, got a TD on an illegal forward pass, and lost to a team that had a backup QB play 93% of offensive snaps.
Josh Allen, not good. Not good. Really not good. I don't know what was going on. I don't know why he looked so terrible, but I will say Zach Wilson looked even worse. Zach Wilson couldn't do anything. I mean, that interception that he threw was literally right to the defender. He didn't even provide any big plays. I was not impressed with Zach Wilson at all. Nothing good about Zach Wilson. That doesn't mean Josh Allen was good, but we know Josh Allen has had other good games. Zach Wilson has never had good games. So Zach Wilson, to me, didn't really look that improved. But he didn't expect to be the starter. So I don't know how prepared he was, but yeah, he needs to improve. And I am not expecting that to occur.
You see the Jets going after anybody?
We talked about that earlier, and not really.
My bad.
It was an hour and a half ago at this point. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
people from then are still here now.
And we've got people, we have people asking questions about 30 minutes ago. Try and get them an answer before they tune out. Lost Dobbins in redraft. Gainwell, Kern Williams, Josh Kelly. Okay, your waiver wire is available. Does the Gainwell practice news?
We've had a zillion versions of this question.
Yeah, we're done. We're done with that. Go watch the rest of the show. Thoughts on Zay Jones? Max you'd pay as a flex?
Okay, so so to talk about what the question is referring to, essentially Zay Jones played actually the most snaps of any Jaguars
more than Ridley,
and significantly outproduced and outplayed Christian Kirk. I am not ready to just declare that Zay Jones is going to be ahead of Christian Kirk for the rest of the year, but I've moved them significantly closer. For this coming week, I have Zay Jones at 45 and Christian Kirk at 36. So much closer than they were the previous week. I have Calvin Ridley at 8, wide receiver 8. So I'm not really looking to pay for Zay Jones. I don't see much upside. I don't think you're ever going to be able to really trust him. I think this offense is going to be, you'll be able to play Calvin Ridley as a wide receiver 1. You'll be able to play Evan Ingram because tight end is so brutal. And then the other two, Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, I think are going to be more up and down. So, yeah.
Okay. I've got a new idea for this question. It's called roast the trade or toast the trade. Trade away Josh Allen for Dak, JT, and a 24 first. Are you roasting that trade or are you toasting to it?
We're toasting it.
It's
seems pretty easy to me.
It's the value's on the package side, but I wasn't happy with Dak. Again, I think we got to accept that Dak is a new thing. Like Dak, the old Dak is gone forever. So if I had Josh Allen,
by 40, so
no. The problem is that it's been so long. The Dak is a new Dak here. We're gonna have game manager Dak, is what we're gonna have. I don't think we're getting fantasy firepower Dak ever again. I think that is canceled. So it's tough. Josh Allen isn't really worth that, but I mean, this is what it costs to get Josh Allen. But I don't tend to like mortgaging my whole team for one asset like that. It's not really my style.
Yeah. Craig asks, back to his Howell conundrum and his search for tight ends. Would you all look to get a tight end for Sam Howell?
Sam Howell's really a hold for me. If I were getting a tight end for Sam Howell, I would probably need someone like Luke Musgrave.
You look really good.
I would say
really
Musgrave or even Laporta. Like if I can get Laporta for him.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
I think you might be surprised. There's some people that still aren't all the way in.
I haven't encountered.
Doesn't hurt to ask. I think on that one. Keeping things moving. Dynasty 10-team Superflex. Would you trade Herbert in the 24 first for Garrett Wilson and Trevor Lawrence?
Yes. Yeah. Herbert and Lawrence are, they're valued differently, but they're not that far apart. And I know Garrett Wilson has lost some value, but Garrett Wilson's worth a lot more than a single first. I didn't drop Garrett Wilson that far in Dynasty. I have Garrett Wilson now at wide receiver 8 in Dynasty. So,
all right.
Still worth.
Who do you like better of the quarterbacks long term?
Justin Herbert. I still like better. I think Justin Herbert, he was pretty good this week. Trevor Lawrence was also good. I like Justin Herbert better, though. He also already has a long-term contract. That helps.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I like Lawrence quite a bit, so I'm with you. Rodgers for Fitzmagic.
Basically, this comes down to: do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to play again?
Fitzpatrick?
We talking Ryan?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. We talking Brian Fitzpatrick?
That doesn't matter. I would say so. Aaron Rodgers in Superflex, I still have him quarterback 34. I would say if I had to guess, I do think he comes back, and I do think he plays next year. So I would not be giving him up for a fourth. I think it's in Superflex. I think I would take any second for Rodgers very easily, and because he's never going to be worth more than that. But a third,
there's no way in hell I'm doing this off the potential that he might play next year.
Yeah.
No way.
I mean, there is a universe in which Aaron Rodgers comes back next year and then plays another year. I mean, the universe exists. I don't think it's the most likely, but I think I'd rather hold on to Aaron Rodgers than take a fourth.
I'd rather take that lottery pick too.
He has like 50 million reasons to come back. By the way,
just give me a reason, just a little.
I don't think he wants to go out like that either.
But he also is so much money on the line.
If you got an IR spot, would you hold Dobbins hoping he gets the same bump when he returns to health, or is the contract year making more of a Marlon Mack than a Cam Akers?
Dobbins? I mean, if you have an IR spot for him that can only be used on guys on actual IR, then he's probably one of the best guys you're going to be able to put in there. But in terms of J.K. Dobbins, it's not like Aaron Rodgers. I think J.K. Dobbins is done. I think J.K. Dobbins is done. I would take. I have J.K. Dobbins at running back 50 in Dynasty. I'd take any third and just say that has a better chance of being successful, and it doesn't tie up spots in any way. And also Cam Akers was not so great. I would, if I had to bet, I would bet on J.K. Dobbins doesn't take another NFL snap. So I'll take any third and just be done.
12-team Superflex, start 10, rebuild. Still have my own and 3 other 24 firsts and 3 26 firsts. Gave 2 mid to late 24 firsts. Got Pickens and CD, or just gave up 2 firsts and Pickens for CD.
2 picks and Pickens for CD.
Too much to pay. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. I'll take the package.
I think there's no reason that trade will still be there
There's no reason.
in
There's
4
no
months.
reason. And picks don't get hurt and players do. So no, don't like this one.
That's a great trade at the beginning of the offseason.
Put up the next question. Because it's actually the last part that's important. No.
No, I'm trying to find. Sorry.
This. How's my process? Bad. It's bad. It's bad. When you're rebuilding, doing an even value trade where 2 picks are included is the opposite of a good idea. Is bad process. So there's your answer. Bad. Sorry. We keep it real here. I know a lot of other shows won't do that. A lot of shows will just say, oh, everything you do is great. People, because they're thankful that people ask questions at all. They're not willing to say it's bad, but it's bad. I'll say it. Next.
We got a 2 for 1. Should I start Madison or Javonte Williams this week?
Ooh. I had Madison ranked higher. The Javonte Williams usage was funny. He looked good, but the usage was bad. He didn't even get half the touches. The usage was bad. He looked pretty good. The matchup versus Washington is not my favorite, but Madison against Philly is not my favorite. Madison did get all the work. And I don't think on a short week we're going to have a change in game plan to suddenly have Ty Chandler be the starter. I'd go with Madison, but I'm not happy with whoever I have to play.
Also, you're not benching Garrett Wilson.
That'd be Madison.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not benching Garrett Wilson either. But I have him at 17, but that means you're not benching him. There's very few leagues where wide receiver 17 is benched.
Yep.
Are people ignoring and downplaying Tutu's 119 yards?
No.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I moved him up 90 dynasty spots from. I mean, how much do you want me to move someone off of one
I'm not
game?
talking about you in general. I think it's more so just.
Well, then more people should listen to me.
I've seen every tweet in the book about Puka at this point. So
because Puka is sustainable.
I'm not chasing points.
I'm much more impressed by someone who does it in game 1 of year 1 than someone who does it in year 3. Year 3 doesn't impress me. Game 1 of year 1 does. That's very impressive. That's rare. Having a random good game in year 3 is not as impressive because people have random good games all the time. I need to see many random games, many good games. But for someone to do it in their first ever game, you do realize most day 3 rookies, wide receivers, are inactive their first week. And not just ones who don't, who are on the crowded depth charts. I mean, there are plenty of players who've had opportunity on their depth chart and are still inactive. So it's not a given that someone drafted on day 3 is going to be good just because they have opportunity. I'm very impressed when someone does it early because that means that they earned it from the start. It didn't take time. And what means that they're earning it from the start, how much higher could they go if they're earning it from the start? So I like that. Whereas I'm not as impressed of someone year 3 stepping into a role for a game. I got to see multiple games. And also, Puka Nacua is a better prospect in every way than Tutu Atwell other than the draft happened. Yeah, we did that a long time ago.
I really like Tyler what you said on the show sheet about Romeo Doubs. PJ says he looked nasty. You described him in 2 words. Can I just share what those were?
Sure.
You said he was fool's gold. Give us more.
Well, he didn't have that many targets, and he didn't look good at all. I don't know what people are talking about. He looked like just a guy. I don't get it. He looked fine.
Targets without Christian Watson. When Watson comes back,
He didn't show me anything that told me he's going to be the wide receiver 1 when Christian Watson is back. What he showed is that he's the best among the rest. But if he were really that great, he would have taken advantage of this opportunity and had 9 or 10 targets, but he didn't. He had 5 out of 27. That's fine. That's what, an 18, 19% target share? That's fine. He had 26 yards, 4 receptions. I mean, fine. The 2 touchdowns are all anyone cares about. And, touchdowns are mostly random, and we all know that. Romeo Doubs doesn't have like a touchdown skill set of any kind.
He got open at the end.
He got open,
and the play kept going for a few extra seconds, and it broke down a little bit, and all of a sudden he's there and he flashed open, and Jordan Love hit it. It's more of a compliment to Jordan Love and his ability to wait and find the open person.
Is a takeaway from the game. I will say, considering that there was no Christian Watson, Jordan Love looked good. Jordan Love was good
on important 3rd down plays. He had a lot of.
Considering that the offense was hampered by a lack of Christian Watson, and none of these receivers stood out to me as someone who is even a good 2. I don't think even a good 2. Maybe Jaden Reed could develop into that. Maybe a Romeo Doubs could develop into that as he gets more playing time. But I don't even think there was a good 2 on the field at wide receiver for this game. And Jordan Love still looked good.
Can the Packers have Quay Walker be like an extra running back replace Dillon? Because the Bears were afraid to touch him.
Oh, we can talk about AJ. I mean, AJ Dillon looked like even worse than Cam Akers. I mean, so bad. That pass that he dropped, I mean, it was right in his hands. It was not good. 13 carries for 19 yards, vomit-inducing. I mean, it was – if Emmanuel Wilson is called up and gets playing time over A.J. Dillon in the near future, I would not be surprised. He was that bad. I mean, him and Cam Akers were probably the 2 worst of running backs who got, more than just a few touches, like significant work. Those 2 and Deion Jackson were like the trio of vomit. So bad, all 3. But Romeo Doubs did not look nasty at all. I disagree. I do think he looked fine. And I think he's going to have someone who has an NFL career. The NFL career proceeds. It's going to last for quite a period of time. In certain opportunities, he's going to be fantasy viable. And I think the career is going to continue. And, that's it. I don't think there's much upside there. I don't see any upside. I don't see a team wanting him to be a top 2 wide receiver on their roster as their plan. I don't think he's at that level. I think he's someone who's the wide receiver 3 on a roster, and if he needs to fill in at 2 for a game, can handle that. I think that's the level he's at. Is that fair? I mean, you're a Packers fan.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's where I'm at on him.
He doesn't suck.
No,
he's not terrible. He's not bad.
A fourth round wide receiver.
He's better than almost any 4th round wide receiver. He's exceeded expectations.
I'm happy with it. I want to, as a Packers fan, I want what he means and what he is for like the little guy. I want his jersey. I want to support him. I want to see him succeed. I don't want to have to watch him succeed in my fantasy football lineup.
He's the kind of player it's important to draft because if you're trying to buy a wide receiver 2 on the free agent market, it's going to cost $18 million a year. But you can have 3 more years of him at no cost. Mm-hmm. The kind of draft pick that really pays off for the real life NFL, but not for us.
Yep. Brennan posts his entire team. I'm just going to say, Brennan, these are great questions to ask on the Patreon.
Yeah, this is.
We're not going to tear apart your entire roster right now.
No, I don't even do that on Twitter anymore. I used to, but I used to do a waiver wire thread. If you notice, it didn't drop today. That thread's not coming back. It's because waiver wire questions are too complicated. They're too complicated. If I have to ask, oh, what's this? Oh, this, I can't follow that in the notifications. I don't have time for that. I'm done burning down my mental health for people who have no appreciation for me whatsoever, and like burning my energy on people who have no appreciation for me whatsoever. So that kind of stuff on Twitter, you're not going to see it. On Twitter, it's mostly just going to be trades, dynasty trades specifically, mostly, and start sit. Or those are going to be the things I focus on Twitter, focus on those things. And then those random fun engagement threads just kind of bring people in. But there's no pressure on those. We will not see questions about fad. I actually ignored most of those and pointed people to Patreon because I just can't follow those. And yeah, I gotta do a better job of balancing. And I did better in week 1 than I did any week last year. Balancing, getting good advice out there and putting stuff up on the Patreon and responding to their questions, updating the spreadsheet. It's the best I ever did of doing that. So I'm going to keep that going.
Tyler excels with the start sit, and there's plenty of other people that do good waiver wire stuff. That
there are.
You're looking for
I've
that.
Never, since I don't play a lot of redraft, it's not my specialty. I'm not as involved. I mean, most of my patrons are Dynasty, so I'm not as involved in the fab. And then also, like, when I'm getting questions, I have no idea what the format is. I have to ask. It just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Where start sit's universal. Everybody does start sit, so I have more investment in that, and I'm the best. Everyone. I've owned that Sunday morning market for the last 4 years, and I'm of people who do the questions that way and publish their start sit spreadsheets. I'm the best, and I'm willing to say it. So, go ahead.
Mitch is asking, did we do a recap of the Patreon League at all?
We did not. I do want to thank all of my patrons for doing that and for being so gracious to have my feedback on the live show a few weeks ago. So I do appreciate everyone who was there for that. No, we didn't do a recap. It looks like outside of one team who did really badly, it looks like there was a lot of close scoring. Spence is in that league.
Could we maybe do like a short or something afterwards and just give him a little something, a little thank you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I could do this as a separate video. It's the kind of thing I'd love to do it if I get the time and like kind of mental energy to go and record it. I would do that myself. I would record that myself. As a separate video, like a quick video. It's just tough because I know that video is going to do bad on YouTube, like really bad. So I'm trying to figure out, it's not going to work with the algorithm. So I got to figure out a way to like do it either as a part of another video or something to like make that work for the YouTube algorithm. Because if I just did that by itself, it would, wouldn't really do very well. If I did it in this, like in the middle of a 2-hour show, most people aren't going to see that specific segment. So it's actually a really good idea. I got to figure out a way to like balance all of that and find a way to deliver on something like that. But it is a really good idea. Mm-hmm. I just don't have like the way to get it out there, like top of my head, if that makes sense.
Did our thoughts on Michael Pittman change? Sell, hold?
I think a little. They changed a little, not necessarily because Anthony Richardson was a better passer, but because he passed more. He did pass a little bit more, and I liked that. And Michael Pittman was significantly ahead of everyone else. So I did like that as well. If Michael Pittman is really the only receiving option of any consequence, then he can still be relevant. But I'll still take any 2024 first. I just don't think there's much upside with Michael Pittman.
24 first, yeah.
I still think my opinion that Michael Pittman is not elite, it has not changed. I never kind of saw him quite at that level. So
the only thing I'll say is I think, we talked about, I knocked Pittman down in this offseason quite a bit going in. I do think, we talked about this on one of the shows, like once he started hitting that like wide receiver 30 range, I do think it kind of got out of hand. I still think he's more valuable than that. But, 2024 first, I'm taking all day.
Quick start question. Javonte Williams. It's Kenneth Gainwell, not Walker or AJ Dillon. If Jones said.
Kenneth Walker, I have at RB10, so
Yep.
it would be him for sure.
The next message says Kenneth Gainwell, not Walker. So it's Walker. That's what I was saying. Javonte so quick.
Yeah. What was Dak supposed to do? In my head,
Didn't look good on the attempts he had. I mean, 13 of 24 for 143 wasn't going anywhere downfield. I mean, he didn't look good. I mean, he had that one kick out pass to CeeDee Lamb, which was mostly after the catch. I think the design is not to have a zillion passing attempts. And the Dallas defense is good. It's one of the best in the league. So I just think that this is a sign of what is to come, that Dallas is not going to be a high-flying passing offense. I just don't think they're planning on it. Their passing play calling says it's not going to happen. Jake Ferguson led in targets.
Dropped a lot of them, too.
There were no... Oh, I didn't say he was good. There was no downfield passing of any kind. And they were not up 40 the whole game. There was a first half that was played. And they had their still 15 scripted plays. You know what was absent from those 15 scripted plays? What didn't we see? There was no shots. None. Because that is not a part of the plan. It's just not. It's not going to happen. It's not what they want to do. They don't need to do that to win. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about Dak Prescott. In terms of their other receiving weapons, I think that they're going to realize that throwing to Jake Ferguson is not the way. I would say that we're going to see more CeeDee Lamb in the future. He was very productive on the 4 targets he got. So I'm not worried about CeeDee Lamb too much. I am worried about everyone else. I don't think this is going to be an offense we're going to be looking to ancillary pieces. Like this week, I have Brandon Cooks very low. I mean, I have him at 43. So I think this is going to be a CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard funnel, and no fly zone on anyone else. Because Dak is like quarterback 14. I don't think he's going to support too much else if there's like 4 other people getting catches. Then they're all going to be kind of meh.
So Gavin asked, I skipped his Christian Kirk comment. We'd already talked about Christian Kirk probably more than he deserved earlier in the show. And it wasn't really a question. Just was a statement about week 1 overreactions. And we've been roughly 30 minutes behind on questions. So I want to get to people before they're out of the chat.
For the record, I also disagree. I mean, I think Christian Kirk is the opposite of a buy low. Christian Kirk is a sell for what you can. His usage was awful.
Yep.
Awful. Awful. I mean, absolutely awful. He only came on in 3 wide receiver sets. Not even, I think, did he play any snaps in 2 wide receiver sets? I don't think he played any. The usage was awful. I think he's going to have some games, but Calvin Ridley is the 1, and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones are the 3A and 3B in some order. Christian Kirk he's a sell for what you can, while people still are valuing him based somewhat on last year. Once people are valuing him based on this year, he's going to be worthless. So totally disagree.
Yeah, the comment was around he traded 2 seconds for Christian Kirk and felt that was good value because he was wide receiver 11 last year. I don't like that trade either.
Bad trade. Christian Kirk is pretty much dead to me.
So we've got about roughly 4 questions in the chat after this. We're coming right up on our 2-hour mark. If you want to get in your questions, get them in the next 2 to 3 minutes. That way we can make sure we can get to them.
I feel pretty energetic. I will say. Oddly,
I'm willing to go into overtime like last night. If we need to finish.
I thought you meant last night in your house.
No.
So did I for a second.
Yeah, I was like...
It's like, that's a little saucy.
Whoa.
No, I'm referring to the...
What have we here?
The Jets and the Bills. Sometimes the Bills have to be paid.
You can tell where our minds are. We went totally
yeah, that's not what we were thinking.
Something we didn't get to touch on, and you were asking about this earlier, Tyler, waiting for this opportunity. How do we value Drake London now? Just a long-term hold.
Drake London.
He traded Judy in a 24 third for him.
I would take Drake London over that.
Yep.
It's tough because Drake London is a player we know is good. Or at least I think so. I think I know that Drake London is good.
Yeah.
The draft capital says he's good. The rookie year production says he's good. The rookie year metrics say that he's good. The tape says that he's good. So everything says he's good. But the usage is bad in week 1. So I would say that I'm not giving up on Drake London because overall, pretty much everything I saw year 1 was good, and now we have one game that was bad. Nothing changed. Nobody got there above him. It was just a game that the script was all in favor of Atlanta, and there were only 15 receptions and 18 targets to go around. So, and one of them went to Desmond Ridder. So on such a small sample size, 9 of them went to running backs. So he didn't get any of the 8 targets and 5 receptions, or he got 1 of the 8 targets and 0 of the 5 receptions that went to non-running backs. So is it bad? Yes. Is it scary long-term? As long as this is the offense, yes. Is Drake London also 22 years old? And at this point in someone's career, at that age, I'm not yet at the point where I'm going to dismiss someone that I know is good because the quarterback is bad. When we get to someone who's 28 years old, like Terry McLaurin, then I'm willing to say, okay, maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late. When we get to 26-year-old DJ Moore, I start to look at it. I start to say, okay, maybe we have a problem that the value window is going to expire before the good offense comes. But people who are saying Drake London is never going to be in a good situation. In 6 years, he's going to be 28. In 6 years, he's going to be the age that Terry McLaurin is now. And people don't think of Terry McLaurin as old. In 5 years, he's going to be the age that Deontay Johnson is now. 5 years ago, Tampa Bay was quarterbacked by Jameis Winston. We've been through a zillion quarterbacks since then. Atlanta was still in the middle of Matt Ryan. There's been a lot has happened, and there was many years to go of Matt Ryan. 5 years ago, Atlanta was considered a great landing spot because Matt Ryan was there. How much has changed in 5 years? And just in that division, Drew Brees was the quarterback of the Saints. 5 years is a very long time. In 2 years, it could look completely different. So I know that Drake London is good. So I'm not giving up on Drake London. But you do have to lower his value because if he's not going to produce high-end wide receiver numbers, he can't have high-end wide receiver value. You have to lower it. But I would caution you to be very careful about how far you lower it because I know he's still good. So right now I have him at wide receiver 14 in Dynasty. And
don't feel bad about sending Judy in a third for him.
No, because Judy...
I'd still do that any day.
Judy, I've seen, it's constant an injury, a problem. 4 years, always a problem. Always another problem. I don't want to hear about a problem. So it's 4 years of problems. So I'm tired of Judy. I mean, London has had in his 1 full year in the NFL, has had more production than Judy has had in any of his attempts. So I don't want to hear about Judy. I'm not interested in Judy. Now, if you're telling me that I can get something better than that, I mean, if I can get Zay Flowers and something else for Drake London, but no, you can't do that. So Drake London is a hold then, obviously. The answer is highly. Yeah. Kyle Pitts is the one I'm more worried about if I had to choose.
We talked about that more in depth earlier on in the show.
We did. Yeah, I'm very worried. Kyle Pitts, I have serious concerns because the usage isn't there. The usage is not there. I mean, he's also wide receivers just have more leverage. Like Drake London, Marquise Brown forced his way out of Baltimore. Now, it didn't pay off. He forced his way out of Baltimore to Arizona, and then it was a disaster. But Marquise Brown forced his way out of a winning team just because he wasn't getting the ball enough. I think Drake London would be able to do the same if he wanted to.
Quick start sit. Should I start Akers, JSN, or Hollywood as my last flex spot?
Can I start none of them, please?
We can take a 0, which will still be better than Antonio Gibson this in week 1.
Akers, I have at 39, so I'd rather not. I'll go with JSN. He tied for the league, the team lead in targets. I'm not excited, but Hollywood Brown was a disaster. So
that whole offense is going to be a disaster as long as Murray's not there.
I told people it would be so bad that you wouldn't want to start anyone, and here we are. You know, it's funny. You know what I got very little of week 1? People telling me that I led them astray. I mean, we just talked about probably the one player where I did. It was Drake London.
We had one person that was upset that we told them to bench Isaiah Likely for Dallas Goedert and had 1.4 point differential. That was a gem of a comment.
I'm so sorry that they were so upset. I'm so sorry.
There was
I don't say that honestly. I'm not sorry.
We got asked, I think, London versus Pirine or something like that. And I think everyone from your team, Tyler, responded London. I think Pirine. It was like, those things are going to happen. That's fantasy football.
You got any day anyway. I'm okay with that loss.
This brings up an interesting point. Do we see Tyler Allgeier and Bijan as starters in your lineup if you have both? Could they both be fantasy?
I think they can be. I think if they're really going to have this many rushing attempts, then there's room for 2 running backs to be relevant. I mean, if they're going to be this many. But, you know, Green Bay is not as likely to be quite as positive of a matchup. So I still have Bijan Robinson at RB5 and Tyler Allgeier at 24. So I'm willing to take my chance on Tyler Allgeier versus like guys I really don't want to play. But yeah, I have him at 24.
It's going to be so game script dependent for both of them to be. I mean, Bijan's an automatic starter, right? For Allgeier, it's going to be very game script dependent.
I think they saw from Bijan Robinson on that touchdown catch that we got to get this guy more involved.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think we saw a lot of really, really good things from Jahmyr Gibbs in his limited touches. We saw him break 7 tackles and 9 touches, more than DeAndre Swift did and Jamal Williams all of last year. So give these rookie running backs time to get acclimated to the NFL.
I have Gibbs a bit lower this week than I did last week, but I still have him at 16.
I'm still high on Gibbs, but it's just that usage is that is a power offense. Then he is a good change of pace to Montgomery, and I know he'll get more involved as the season goes on.
Running back position is weak.
It's just weak. So I'm with you.
Guys, I mean, if you look at, here are some of the mid-tier running backs that you could play. I mean, you have Najee Harris against Cleveland as an option. Rashad White, who was horrible. Miles Sanders is against the Saints. Madison against Philly. Connor after last week. Jamal Williams again. Javonte, who split work. I mean, it's brutal. And there aren't that many people in good matchups. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco split a lot of work. I mean, it's tough. Dameon Pierce didn't even play half. He played the lowest snap share of his career other than week 1 last year. So, tough.
I
running back is brutal.
With how brutal running back is, I think a lot of people are tempted to start chasing points, chasing those touchdown guys from last week. And I think you're gonna end up chasing your tail and playing whack-a-mole, waiting for that right running back to hit, and you're gonna miss.
I think a lot of people are gonna play Justice Hill this week, and they're gonna be sorry.
Was it 9 carries for 8 yards and 2 touchdowns?
8 for 9 and 2, yeah.
8 for 9. Sorry, I got it.
I have James Cook as at RB14. I think he's someone people are going to ignore because he didn't score. I have him at 14 this week. The matchup against Vegas is good.
How are you feeling about Josh Jacobs? He looked bad.
You can't make. I mean, the work was still there.
The work was there, but he just looked slow.
I don't know if I want to say he looked bad.
It felt like he was playing in mud and everyone else wasn't. But Josh Jacobs playing in mud is still better than a lot of people playing in regular turf.
Yeah.
Or real grass, whatever you want to call it.
I don't think there's any way to get away from starting Josh Jacobs. I haven't met, even against Buffalo.
No, I'm not.
It's just not enough.
I'm still high on him.
But I did move him down. I mean, I have Travis Etienne ahead of him. I have Derrick Henry ahead of him this week in a better matchup. So.
Yep.
Etienne is someone we didn't touch on at all tonight. And
yeah, we didn't talk about him at all because I don't think people are making start. They're not making start-sit decisions on Etienne. He's a must-start.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I think we realized that Bigsby wasn't as good as people thought he was going to be.
Yeah, I moved Tank Bigsby down significantly in Dynasty and Travis Etienne up. I don't think Bigsby is an imminent threat to overtake him.
I like this, Nicky. Your two Dynasty running backs being Bijan and
Those
Jacob.
are pretty good starters. Yeah, I like that. Not having a lot of those middling running backs.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that.
She does have a question for Trey. DeAndre Swift or Mr. Garbage Time himself, Roschon Johnson?
In Dynasty, I'll just take what I haven't seen and take Roschon Johnson.
Yeah, I was just going to say. At least there's a trajectory where you could see him like being a guy. I think Swift we've seen enough of.
It's box versus boat, but it's not a boat. It's like a little paddle boat that doesn't stay afloat.
It's like a boat that has like 3 holes in the hull.
Evan Hall on IR.
I know. I'm
sad.
I'm sad for that because Evan Hall was someone I really thought had a lot of potential, and it's just not.
I think if Roschon hadn't scored the touchdown, you could have traded Cam Akers for Roschon Johnson and been very happy with that in Dynasty.
I think people are so angry with Cam Akers that I think that's no longer really a possibility.
It's no longer it's not an option. The touchdown for sure sealed it as not.
Oh, Cam Akers scored 2.
Just wasn't good though.
That was funny. If he had 22 carries for 29. I mean, that's a new low.
It's almost as bad as Reggie Bush in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Gavin trying to fight for Christian Kirk.
No. Devonta Smith played 96% of the snaps in week 1 last year.
Totally different talent level anyway.
Totally
They're not
different.
the same.
Yeah. Devonta Smith was first-round pick, won the Heisman Trophy in college, is actually good as a rookie, unlike Christian Kirk, who wasn't used. Played snap share, wasn't behind someone else. So, no, and sorry.
Yeah, I'm concerned when you're pulling out the Rolodex trying to find people to fit your narrative.
Yeah.
Let the players, let the actions support the stats. Don't find someone to support what you want to.
Because you can find anyone if you want to make a narrative true, you can.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why those people are always my favorite people to play against, because they're always the ones donating money to the pot.
All right, last question. Would you rather see Hunt or Fournette in Indy or one of the other in Baltimore?
So Indianapolis is now, Kenyon Drake was already shown the door. Jonathan Taylor can't come back until week 5. And Evan Hall now can't come back until week 6. So they're now down to Deion Jackson and Zach Moss. And that's it. Of people that are playable. So, they have a problem. So I would say that these are probably the two. I don't buy what the Ravens said. Oh, we're happy with our running backs. No, we're not. I think it's interesting that we talked about Jonathan Taylor trade between these two teams. At this point, though, where would I rather? Probably Baltimore. Indianapolis is not. They're coming into a mess, and I guess I'd rather Baltimore. Neither excites me.
I think
either of those guys going to either of those teams probably become pretty relevant, though, because I think either of those guys would be the starter there. Yeah.
They're not.
They're flex relevant if they're
more than the guys they have.
Yeah.
But not really. Not really. I think it's going to be a committee of a mess in either case. I'm not very excited. I mean, I'm not excited for the Ravens retread of the year. I mean, we do this every year. We've done this now for 4
Every
years,
year.
and it always is a failure. So I don't know why it would be different this time. And Hunt and Fournette, if no one signed them, how bad are they? I do think Indianapolis is the one who makes the move first, though, because they really are. I mean, Zach Moss is racing to be ready for week 2. Maybe he'll be ready I think he'll play.
And they already brought Hunt in and were like kind of seemed like they were close to signing him. So I can see Hunt waiting for that right situation, and maybe Indy is that for him.
I mean, they have to. I feel like the Colts literally have to add someone.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon is on the practice squad of the Ravens, and
He was signed to the active roster.
signed it officially today. Okay, but moved up.
That's why I think the Indianapolis is more likely to sign Hunt or Fournette, because they need someone to play this week. They just don't.
Well, here's the scary thing for me. I think the Ravens, when they say they're happy with their running backs, they shouldn't be. I think they actually might be, and that's the thing that worries me if someone actually going to Baltimore.
I don't.
No.
I'm not interested in these players anymore.
No.
All right. Tyler, one word. Allgeier or Robinson?
Allgeier.
Okay.
I'm going to say Robinson.
I call Brian Robinson Boring Robinson for a reason.
Didn't he catch a ball or something?
I did notice
Touchdown.
Like he caught the ball.
Well, I mean, he's still better than Antonio Gibson.
The narrative,
Well, an empty.
just so you know, all preseason was that they were involving him more in the passing game all offseason. So, it did come to mini fruition, but I still think he is.
I don't know if that would have happened if Antonio Gibson hadn't removed himself from the game with his fumble. I mean, Brian Robinson each had one catch. It's not
from
like
a
Brian
Commanders
Robinson
fan. I
had
think
many catches.
Robinson is the guy there, though, right? Like, I feel like he is a big part of every week's game plan for them, and as long as they're not super falling behind to Denver, I prefer Brian Robinson.
Did Antonio Gibson ever go back in after the fumble?
Yep, they gave him a nice screenplay.
So he went in
ended
for
up
what?
Like low carries, like 2 or 3 plays, nothing significant.
Yeah, I think he was out there for 3 plays after the fumble.
Yeah. And that's what they did to him last year. And I think that was also with Brian Robinson recovering from a gunshot wound. I truly think that he is the guy to own in that backfield is Brian Robinson. I do think he will get a lot of usage this week.
People should look at Chris Rodriguez. I think are very interesting.
Yep.
Could get more work this week. He had as many
especially
carries
as the season
Antonio
progresses.
Gibson.
They like him. That was supposedly the handpicked guy from. I agree. Contract coming up to an end too. They got the young guy in Rodriguez.
Antonio Gibson.
Who was
I'm
handpicked
more
by the
done
enemy.
with Antonio Gibson than I am DeAndre Swift or Cam Akers. I think Antonio Gibson is the closest of those 3 to being shown the door, as in immediately.
Are we paying attention at all to Kendrick Bourne on the waiver wire?
I got a lot of questions about Kendrick Bourne.
11. What was it? 11 targets.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions about Kendrick Bourne. I would say that on the Patriots, Bourne, Juju, Butte, and Demario Douglas all saw work. Devontae Parker was out. Also, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, they were also worked in. A lot of different targets. I don't think Mac Jones is going to have 316 passing yards and 3 touchdowns to go around most weeks. 11 receptions and 13 targets did go to running backs, and more if you count Ty Montgomery as a running back. So, yeah. Kendrick Bourne, I think, is a total mirage. When Devontae Parker comes back, I think Devontae Parker will return to playing that role.
Yep.
And
totally agree.
Juju, though, Juju is done. Like, done. When the game was on the line, Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte were in the game. Not Juju. So Juju, I think, is actually just finished. And I think the Patriots will give anything to have Jakobi Meyers back and undo that decision, because that one is not paying off.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Juju is finished. I have no interest in him. I dropped him even further in my Dynasty rankings this week. He's now sitting at wide receiver 68. So I'm just done. I think his career is, I think this is it. But no, I'm not interested in Kendrick Bourne. In redraft, I'll leave him on the wire. Those kind of wide receivers are not players I target.
All right.
Dynasty, I might add him, but not.
I feel like we've played the Kendrick Bourne game before in Dynasty. And
We have, and I don't.
It took 6 weeks for him to get back to waivers again after the next year.
I'm not interested in Kendrick Bourne. In redraft, when I say I'm not adding him, I mean I'm not adding him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. In Scott Fishbowl, I'm pretty sure he's on the wire in my league, and considering how squeezed I am, and that I already have Rashid Shaheed is my wide receiver 6. I don't think I can afford it. I'm so squeezed everywhere else. I can't afford to have a 7th wide receiver. So he's on the wire, but I'm going to leave him. All right. Oh, and in redraft, yeah. In Scott Fishbowl, I'm actually going to hang on to Greg Dulcich because tight end is so thin. I guess I don't think he's droppable in Scott Fishbowl, but in any other redraft, he is. And in Dynasty, I dropped him significantly in my ranking. I think you have to. Don't really see any other choice. Did we? You think we covered everything? I mean, we didn't, but I put together a whole show sheet. I kind of realized that was mostly a waste of time. We didn't really need to do it. But.
I think we hit on almost every game at some point, and use that opportunity to talk about other players that were relevant to those questions. So
keep it in mind. But yeah. Anyone have anything like exciting going on?
No.
I'm gonna go make some cheese stuffed pretzels and do my waiver wires.
I'm gonna go eat some dinner. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I walked in, came out to here, so I'm gonna go see my family and eat some dinner.
I love
that. Chiefs wide receivers. We didn't touch on it all.
Oh, there's
nothing. It was so long ago.
There is nothing to talk about. Don't touch any of them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about. Because Rashee Rice is the only one in redraft. I think they can all go because you're never going to be able to trust them. Rashee Rice is the only one I consider keeping because he's the one I think has potential to become something. The others can all go.
Plus, with Kelsey likely returning this week, it just feels like
it only makes it even worse.
Yeah. It makes it worse.
It was so strange to rank them. Like I'm ranking like all of them in like the 40s and 50s because it's like the potential is there. It's KC, but it's so strange to have 4 wide receivers ranked from 48 to 50.
None high, none super low. They're all in that garbage area.
It's so strange to do that.
A dead zone.
That's kind of what the Chiefs offense requires. Very, very strange ranking of players. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. But, desperate times. But anyway, I appreciate everyone who watched. I know this was a very long show. And, thanks for all the comments. I think we hit 30 live viewers at one point. So we'll just keep it rolling next week. Thanks for the super chat from Bobby. And, every week, 7:30, I'll get back on here with some videos throughout the week, hopefully. I'll let you know when I'm planning on dropping all those. But if not, we'll be back here 7:30 p.m. Eastern to recap week 2 next week. But until then, I'll see you all later. Peace.
Hulu.